Hello, everyone, and welcome in to SmashBoxxTV podcast 439. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, in studio next to Johnny V.
When do we get an off season? I'm just curious, Terry, because it feels like every week we have so much to talk about. There's so many things going on. The off season feels busier for news, less repetitive. Like during the season, it's always like, all right, who won? Let's talk to them. Oh, good, you shot 1,080 around. You're really good. It's the off season where all the cool, fun stuff, unexpected things happen. There's controversies, there's drama, there's new tours, there's new broadcasts. There's so much stuff going on, Terry Miller.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to skip all that and head to Thailand. I'm out. Okay. Oh, wait, I'm doing work there, too. Never mind.
When do you leave for Thailand?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. So here's the forewarning. Depending on how things shake out with travels, I may or may not be available come next Tuesday.
You've joined us from Thailand before
I have.
On the course, which is my favorite.
And a recent photo was reposted of that thanks to our friend Kinga, over there in Australia. He had posted a great photo of when I was sitting there talking with Nigel from right there on the course. There might be some of that, and there's probably going to be a number of check-ins, but they may not be at the most opportune times overall for people here in the U.S. But I'll be doing plenty of check-ins from all around the travels.
Well, if you can't join us,
I'll let you know.
Awesome. I mean, let me know, and then I'll find someone to interview, or we'll have a guest host or something. You know, there's always lots of.
You'll try and find a way to get by. You'll try to survive.
I will try to survive, like Gloria Gaynor. I will survive.
Yes, you will.
Or cake. Either one. Your choice, people. Cake is awesome too.
Yeah.
We listened to that a lot in college.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like hearing my sweet mate playing that quite a bit. Tonight, we've got a pretty sweet show. Speaking of some cake, we got a great show lined up. We're going to have Andrew Marwede. He's going to be joining us in just a few moments. If somehow you didn't know what was going on at the Shelley Sharp, then you weren't paying attention to the YouTubes. But this weekend, we had the A-Tier taking place, the Shelley Sharp Memorial presented by Spinners on the Green. I had the pleasure of, again, being there in attendance and capturing the action. So Andrew Marwede is going to join us. And then shortly after Andrew Marwede joins us, an Arizona resident and also winner of this weekend, one Jennifer Allen. She'll be joining us. And then, because there's so many things, as you said, going on, various tours, there's European contingencies and conversations, but there's also some very specific women's-only based events that are taking place. And we hear of the tours. We talk of them frequently, and we reference them. And we want to shine a little spotlight on one of them that's going on down in Texas. I was going to say Florida as well. But in Texas, we're going to talk to Krissie Fountain. She's got some information about taking place down there, wildflower tour and tournaments taking place. So we got a jam-packed show. Lots of action tonight.
We do. Maybe I'll work with one of the women's tours about getting that little tour on Skip Ace.
I like it.
Yeah, how much fun would that be for them? A lot of fun.
Probably a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Who doesn't like to bet on themselves?
Well, there's, I guess, depending when some of these people go and create their own contracts year in and year out, we'll see who's placing their biggest bets. But so thank you for joining us. Looking forward to having all these great chats tonight. And our very first guest is ready to go. He's in our green room, Disc Baron Digital green room, and we're going to welcome him to the show. One Andrew Marwede. What?
How's it going, guys?
Have you ever been introduced with a what before? I'm just curious.
That's the first time.
Okay, good. Hopefully the last. Let me just put it that way.
A long weekend of commentating alone gets you sometimes a little bit silly, and you can see Vista so many times before you're starting to run out of things you want to talk about. So, Andrew, welcome to the show. Let's get this out of the way right off the bat. This is the hard-hitting stuff people need to know.
All right.
Do you go by Andy?
I go by Andy and Andrew.
Because almost every time I've referenced you, I know every time I have, and most of the world references you, I feel like, by Andrew, at least the disc golf community. And so we want to know if it's acceptable, largely because we think of a Nathan Queen, who he's not a Nate. And most of the time abbreviations happen. In your case, you're cool with it. You're an Andy and an Andrew.
Yeah, they both work. Whatever comes out of your mouth first works for me.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, good. Now we got that all cleared up. Yeah, Andrew just sounds so formal and official when you're dominating.
Andy sounds like you know, an AM1 player. Andrew sounds like a DGPT champion.
Yeah.
If I'm sending an email, it'll be Andrew. If I'm sending a text message, it'll probably say Andy.
How did you sign Shelly Sharp Memorial Champion autographs? Like, there had to be a few thousand of those.
There was actually just one. There was a kid before the last round who actually bought one of my Hurricanes in the shop, I think. So he came up and asked me to sign it right before, and it's Andrew. So
it doesn't get any better than that. A kid picking up a signature disc to then go out and have you sign it. Let's talk about that. First of all, congratulations, of course, on the victory, and we'll get into a few more details. But in a very non-jerkish way, I feel like I overheard someone say, well, but wait a minute, it feels like the crowd's larger for the chase card than it was for the lead card at the end. And I feel like, is that something those players have earned? And clearly you're winning, you're dominating this tournament, but does that offend you or upset you, knowing that sometimes these other names maybe have a larger crowd?
I mean, I personally didn't really care. There was a significant amount more people watching chase card for sure. There was, I forget everybody who was on chase card, but at least 3, probably if not all 4, were big names, 10, 20 rated plus. And I think 2 of the guys on lead card last round, I believe, might have been their first lead card, or at least maybe on coverage at least. So, we were even talking, and they were kind of happy that there wasn't a huge crowd, take some of the nerves off. And for me, it didn't really matter. I try not to think about other people or other cards too much. I kind of knew the position I was in, and if I just stuck to my game plan and even honestly just took pars, it was probably going to be okay. So
yeah,
didn't matter too much.
I was just going to say, I think I heard the perfect response. I think it was somebody else on the card, the lead card, had said, like, hey, we need to earn some of that fanfare yet, and that's not. It's just a matter of where you are in your career. A lot of you guys are a little bit earlier in your professional career on a larger stage, and so that makes sense. I mean, people know what they're gonna get if they're watching an Aaron Gossage and a Kale and a Drew. Those were the other 3 bigger names, we'll say, established names out there on that chase card. And I didn't think there should be anything offensive about it, but I think it's just all part of the journey.
I mean, I think Andy's breaking hearts, because if you're following that second card, you're hoping to see an enormous comeback. Like, wow, Kale shot a 17 under to come back to win. But no, Andrew's out here putting his foot down.
Yeah. It was awesome to watch. You were so consistent throughout the weekend. Talk about this course, and as we were playing Vista and the new changes that were to it this year, talk about the course and how it suits your game.
Yeah, so I would say the course suits my game pretty well. There's definitely more backhands than there are forehands. So I was trying to play the backhand shot smart. If you watched all of the rounds, most of them weren't smart. I think one of the times I missed the Mando, I was just trying to lay up and I just shanked it. So, but the forehand holes, yeah, I played those extremely well, most every single one. So for some reason, the forehand was super dialed this weekend. But the changes they're hard. I forget who else said it, but I was playing with somebody, and I think he said it played about 4 strokes harder than previous years. Whether that number is accurate or not, I'm not sure. But the holes that are changed, they're a lot harder. So whether it be Mandos or an extra 70 feet when you're throwing uphill over water, it makes a difference. So when it comes to Memorial, when there's probably even more of a top-heavy field and people that throw 500 feet, it might not make a huge difference, but I like the changes for the most part, probably mostly because I played well, but it's definitely a lot tougher of a course.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that it was, for someone like you who maybe it doesn't have the best distance, to come out and win at Vista is an accomplishment, because we've seen in the past the people who have won or have dominated on this course, your Paul Macbeths, your Anthony Barellas, Adam Hammis, things like that they come out and just usually in what's known as kind of a fairly wide open course, come out and crush. You're more of a technician, as people would say. You've even said it yourself. You prefer the second half of the season because those are your style of courses growing up, with them. What was it about this weekend on a course where, you don't see a lot of trees that had you dialed in.
It's honestly a good question. I wasn't, not to say that I wasn't trying to win, but I wasn't expecting too much going in because I didn't have a whole lot of practice after getting here. And then once we got to Arizona, I got a pretty gnarly blood blister on my finger, so I wasn't even playing a couple days before the tournament. But thankfully, it healed up just enough and seemed to work out for me. But what worked well for me at this course, I think, was staying in bounds. Not so much the last round. I had some, OB shots, but luckily I made a lot of circle two putts to save my par. But the first two rounds that kind of put me in the lead and, have a nice separation, I think, was staying in bounds. I might have only been out of bounds or missed a Mando, one or two times, I think, where I'm sure there was a lot more. That was a bigger number for most other people at this course. So I think my, game plan of playing smart on most holes, it worked and it worked well for me. So that was probably the separation, I would think.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. You played what I feel like is standard for you, which is you didn't miss a putt. I mean, at one point, I think in the first round, your putter hadn't touched the ground. And I know you're kind of used to that. Not everyone else is.
That's a good point. Yeah, I was 100% on circle one the entire tournament. And then I don't know what my circle two stats were, but I didn't have any looks the first round, and I probably made about half. So I did putt very well, which helps. So
yeah. I'll spoil it just a little bit in that there was a moment where I thought, well, I'm going to try and get a little bit of an artistic kind of a different look or vantage point for a putt of yours or for a putt. I just wanted to change it up a little. And I was like, oh, well, it feels silly when you're the only cameraman to go after this weird angle because if you miss, it doesn't pay off. And then I was like, no, I'm going to do it when Andrew's putting because he's and sure enough, hole 6, final round or second round or both, whatever. I know that was one instance. And then even on hole 1 during the final round, I put the camera literally on the ground just to kind of get a unique angle. And of course you made it. I was like, oh yeah, I know if I want to go for a unique angle, I'll just do it when this guy's putting. He doesn't miss. So. So thank you for making those decisions appear to be a little bit smarter on my end. As we were closing out, one of the things that you talked about was that you just got into the Memorial. You just got in off the wait list. So of course you're going to be back here in a few weeks at that course, I should say. What is it about either that course or the schedule that is making you want to hit certain things? Because we know a lot of players are concerned about the pro tours, some of the silver events, and then they either take weekends off or they fill them with other events. But Memorial, is it just because it makes sense logistically then?
Yeah, it's kind of like, back on the way to Texas from Vegas, I believe is where it falls. And I've played Memorial the last few years. I think I took 7th there last year after shooting hot round at Vista final round. So I've played some really good rounds at Fountain in the past. I've never really played 4 rounds of really hot golf, but I played there the last few years. I've always really loved the courses if I can play well, I guess. And then I just like being in Arizona from coming from Michigan in the winter. It was a little chilly this weekend, but I'm just happy to be somewhere where it's warm and can play some disc golf.
Yeah, a lot of people from Arizona were not thrilled with the 52 to 58 degrees we had most of the time.
Almost perfect.
Yeah, people like all three of us here, would take it just with no problems. But in Arizona, by Arizona's standards.
I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love another 8 degrees on there, but I'll take 52 over what we have right now.
Yeah, so not too bad.
Exactly.
What is your game plan? A lot of people would want to know what is your touring life look like for this year?
My touring life, I guess tournament schedule wise, I'm playing most of the pro tour. I think there's only 2, maybe 3 I'm not playing, California, and then I have to unfortunately miss Idlewild this year. So that's a couple, and then I'm doing more than half, I think, of the Silver Series. So yeah, most of them. Definitely enough to qualify for, whatever number you take for the Elite Series and Silver Series to, get those points.
I've got to assume Idlewild falls on a wedding weekend for somebody.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, is it your wedding?
No, it's not. It's a buddy from Michigan.
Okay. Just I wouldn't think you'd put your own wedding on that particular weekend. It's just so funny that it's also so predictable. That's about the only reason we see players not at a particular event on any given week, and these days is specifically due to a wedding. And then international, that's not on the plans for this year, or is it?
No, not this year. My girlfriend Lindsay and I are hoping to. Hopefully next year would be super fun. Try to do a couple or a few. Who knows? But not this year. No.
Okay. So last year, of course, you went over to DGA. You had the new contract. I think it kind of took a few people by surprise, even that you had switched sponsors. DGA clearly has been investing in a number of really solid players. They've always had a team, but it feels like they've really stepped it up in the last couple of years in making these acquisitions that they have. If you had to give yourself a grade for your first year with a new sponsor in DGA last year, how would you rate your own season, you personally, if you reflect on it?
My own season? Ooh, that's tough. Probably like I guess like a B plus, I guess. I don't know. It was kind of tough the first couple months getting used to the disc, just like anybody who, switches manufacturers. But I also, I've always been a pretty good putter, but switching putters has really helped, I guess, putting with something with a little more glide. I putt with the Splatterstone Steady BLs. They made a new run for me last year, and they're coming up with a new run for this year that releases in about a month. So I've been putting extremely well with those, and that has just elevated my game because most of the time, if I'm trying to survive out on tour, my putter has to be fire. So that's been working out really well.
Okay. And, well, of course, the board's wondering, is there any limited edition or special edition or signature cookie minis or putters or anything of that in the works? I mean, are you leaning into that, I hope?
Cookie putters? No, not really. There'll be some good stuff coming out, from a couple different places. So I can't spell too much, but nothing too crazy. But it's enough to spark some interest for sure.
I love it. Also sparking interest, we saw just before the event this weekend, I think I saw it on the TikToks or the Facebooks or somewhere, a new extension as well with one of your other sponsors. Of course, you have DGA and you have Squatch, but talk to us about your other contract extension and sponsorship.
Yeah, I re-signed with Great Lakes Discs. They're a store in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I signed with them for 5 more years. I've been with them. I think it will be my 5th year, so made sense for on your 5th year to sign for 5 more years. But Shay and Brian from Great Lakes, we just decided it made sense. They're great guys. I've been with them for a while. Back in my home state of Michigan, they have every manufacturer. They've been a huge, influx of DGA, especially this last year. So they've been huge supporters of me over the last few years, and it's only getting bigger. They're redoing their store. And I'm really excited for the next 5 years with them for sure.
Some people would want to know, because we often get a little glimpse of what a bag sponsor and or a manufacturer sponsor look like, and what that can consist of. Share whatever details you can. But what is when a store like that sponsors you and you sign on with 5 years? What are some of the types of things within that relationship or that contract that you can share? Like what does that mean to you and to them?
I guess to them, it was mostly the relationship, being both in Michigan. I know them both personally very well. We kind of both knew that, hey, I wasn't going to leave and you're not going to drop me. So let's just do 5 more years, so we're very close with each other. So it just made sense. But, on my end, they have a lot of my like fundraiser discs. They hold stock of a lot of different discs with my name on it, and they've even had a limited edition this last year of my putter, so they were the only store to get that. So they have an, how do I word this? Sorry, they have had limited editions, and in hopes of doing more limited editions as well. So you can only get, Andrew Marwede DJ discs from them. So there'll be some special things with them going on throughout the years for sure.
And well, so congratulations on that. I know that's not as common, and so that really kind of stands out that you have a 5-year deal with a retailer. And then I don't know how many people have then reached out since I lobbed out the question this weekend about you possibly being a sweatshirt model. Is that has that had any traction? Is that taking off anywhere?
No, unfortunately not. I did watch the coverage. I was hoping so, but no, that is one of my main forms of attire is shorts and a hoodie. So I was hoping so.
It's not too late. I don't know. I think. Well, I mean, let's just put it out there now. Is that like an Under Armour or a Nike? Is there any particular outdoor apparel company that could then, of course, get branded with DGA and Great Lakes Disc? Is there any favorable sweatshirt company?
That's a good question. I don't know for sweatshirts because I usually just get them from either Great Lakes. So I guess I don't even know what brand they are. I do like Adidas socks, so let's just stick with them.
Okay. So Adidas sweatshirts and socks. I don't know. Somebody out there is listening in, and let's get this guy hooked up.
I've got nowhere to go with that.
That's all right. I was correct though. You had 3 different sweatshirts for the 3 different rounds. Am I right on that?
Yeah. I wanted to wear one of my nice polos, but it was just a little bit too cold. By the time the last few holes of each round, when it was getting close to dark almost, I was pretty much freezing. So I was glad I wore a hoodie at least.
It makes perfect sense, and I like. How many sweatshirts do you have? That's the next question.
Maybe like 8 or something. I don't know. Rough guess.
All right, so you can go a whole week and then some with a different one. I like that play. So earlier when I asked about touring and where you're going, what's kind of the mechanism? Just a few weeks ago, we talked to James Conrad, who's they're redoing an entire bus. We've seen everything from cars to vans to RVs to fifth wheels and everything in between. What's the strategy you're going with this year, and why?
Yeah, I still got the same van. Just a Ram ProMaster, but Lindsay and I are hoping to improve next year, getting a little bit longer of a van. You can't get too much taller. The high roofs are all the same pretty much, so a little more room would be more comfortable and nice. But yeah, we just got our cargo van that's all built out and nice, and does the trick for us well.
And because how tall are you? You have different problems than I have.
I'm 6'5", so I have to hunch a little bit when I get in, but it's not too much. It's not too bad.
Okay.
Life of tall guys. Let me tell you.
I can.
You don't have to worry.
I just have small spaces to worry about, not necessarily tall spaces. It's a little bit different. So what are you? So next week? No, it's not next week. I'm sorry. A couple of weeks from now, you'll be at the Maricopa event. Is that correct?
Yep, that'll be my first time going down there to play that event. So
I was going to say, kind of what are your next few weeks look like before you jump into Las Vegas and officially kick off the Pro Tour season?
Yeah, so got an off week this weekend. So last couple of days, I've just been laying low, relaxing, trying to rest and whatnot. And then the week after that, like you said, it's Maricopa, and then I believe there's like a 2.5 week break until Vegas. So, after Maricopa, just more training for Vegas. I'm not sure how early we're going to be there, but hopefully more than a few days to really, try to lock in on those courses to have a good start for the Pro Tour season / points and whatnot. But we were thinking about maybe staying around for a little bit longer before we head over there. We're not really sure. So I don't have too many plans, in great detail yet, but there'll be a couple weeks at least of a break after Maricopa before Vegas.
Is there anything that you guys are both looking especially forward to this year on the tour, a place on or off the beaten path that maybe you want to hit up or visit or hike or take in or show? I mean, anything. Is there anything across the country that you have on the bucket list?
Yeah, so I'd say there's a couple. I'll start with the first one. Is we've always really liked Vermont, so we're always super excited to go back to the East Coast, and especially Vermont is one of our favorite places to go. But the other one is we went to Big Bend National Park last year, which was a little bit out of the way of the the trek over to Texas, but it was such a huge park. We wanted to try to maybe visit a little bit more this year, but if time allows, it might not. But that was another destination we were thinking about doing.
Okay. Yeah. It's clearly it's no secret. Plenty of people have Vermont as a place where they wish we could spend more time. And then, of course, having the World Championships taking place there this year. How much are you looking forward to the Worlds being at those two particular courses, and how do those suit your game?
I like it a lot more than Kansas. I'll just say that, but I'm pretty stoked for it to be in Vermont. I've had some pretty hot rounds at both of those courses. Played well at the GMC a couple of years ago, and usually I always do at least good enough. But all it takes is one breakout weekend to make some moves. So I'm pretty excited.
Love it. What would you? I don't know how much you've thought about this, but what would you? If we fast forwarded 1 year, and you were reflecting on the 2023 season, what would you think you would have hoped to accomplish, or what's kind of like a benchmark for a good or a great season for you? Anything in particular?
Another putting title? I mean, you seem to rack them up 92%, 91%, like you're almost unstoppable inside the circle.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
what
I
would
do
be
think
success to you?
success. I think as much as I do take good pride in my putting, at the end of the day, I could putt really well and still take 30th place or something like that. So I really think it comes down to having some top finishes, whether it be top 10 or top 5 or hopefully a win. But you know, uh, uh, just trying to be more consistent to finish in the top 10, to be on the UDIS leaderboards and just stuff like that. So um, it would just be nice to be in contention more often than um, every once in a while. So I think consistency would be a big key.
Okay. I did not do a deep dive, but your first round this last weekend was rated 1082. I wouldn't think that is your highest ever. It's probably one of the higher ones, or do you know where that ranks for you?
Yeah, I think it's my second highest.
Okay. Wow. How does that feel? I mean, you said you played that course really well. Does that surprise you, or do you feel like that was just a day out at the park? Because it was actually the windiest of all the days. You shot the hottest score on the windiest day on the opening round.
Yeah, it was obviously it's unexpected because it was the first round of the season and not having too much practice before that. But it was kind of weird before I checked the ratings after the round was done. It felt like a good round, but I didn't really think it would be that high, because that was, like I said when I interviewed with you after the tournament, is not having any circle 2 looks for a whole entire round is very strange for me, because usually my driving is good but not great, so I'm just outside the circle. So I think the extra 10 feet closer to the basket on half of the holes makes a huge difference, because 100% circle 1 meant a lot more birdies, and the only bogey being 2-meter penalty.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed to work out pretty well for me in the win, staying OB free besides the 2-meter.
Yeah, it was. And then maybe one of my last questions about that before we cut you loose. Going back to that first round, you shot 10 under. Again, windiest conditions. Wasn't maybe the coldest day, but it was one of the chillier days. Windiest conditions. And when you got done with the course, you were the first MPO card to go out, actually. And when it was all said and done, you had the entire field by 5 strokes. You had doubled the next best score. I think there were 4 or 5 guys tied at 5 under. What are you thinking on that first night when you put your head on your pillow and you just bested the field by 5 to open the tournament? What's going through your head at that point?
It was a weird feeling knowing that, being ahead by so much after just one round. It was mostly a try not to blow it, moment. So it's one of those things where you still have to be aggressive the next day, but also you have to play a little more smart, knowing you have a decent lead, that you don't actually have to go for the ones that maybe you want beforehand. And if I wasn't in that position, so obviously you can't complain with being ahead by so much, but it changes your game plan a little bit. And luckily my putter stayed hot and tried to avoid the big mistakes. And as you guys know, it worked out pretty well. So I was super excited with this past weekend, and it's a really great start to this year.
Yeah, I would say so. Just the idea. I mean, you were against a really solid field with some great competitors, and to think you came in 5 clear of the next person, and literally had doubled their score. With 11 birdies and that single bogey. It just makes it. The more I think about it, the more impressive it really was, because no one was near you after that first round, and you held on, and you played, of course, very solid throughout. So. All right.
I was going to say real quick, one last question. How does it feel being kind of almost, I feel like you're almost the elder statesman now of the new young DGA team. I mean, you guys have Noah Meinsma. You have, even though he is kind of a tour veteran, you've got the lefty in, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Austin Hannum, or not? Yeah. You have Austin Hannum, but I was saying Austin Turner.
And Austin Turner now.
But you have Austin Hannum and Austin
collecting
Turner.
Austins left and right.
I mean, you were one of the first guys to sign on to the quote. I guess we call it almost the new DGA touring team.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some guys, but you were kind of the first big one. You and Kat. So how does that feel to be kind of the head of the team?
Trailblazer.
Yeah, I guess we also picked up Cole Rodalin too, if I pronounce his last name.
Yeah, that's right, Cole.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got some crushers this year. It's pretty sweet, but I still think of Shasta as being, the guy for DGA. He's been around for a long time. So with me only being around for a year, happy to welcome the new guys in, get them used to the ropes. Maybe, I don't know, but it's nice to have a pretty solid, complete team of some top guys. And as you guys saw with Noah this past weekend, taking second, shooting some fire rounds, that got a pretty complete squad, and hoping to show some guys what DJ Plastic's all about.
Yeah, it certainly was very impressive. I would love to somebody get Statmando on it to find when we had two DGA guys take top 2 spots at an A tier of this size and caliber, and it's very impressive what you both did. So many great shots, like you said, by your teammate in watching what Noah Meinsma was doing out there. And in a few days, I'm going to be watching Shasta on the other side of the world in Thailand throw some shots, and maybe I get to record another DGA win over there. Somebody put me on DGA's books, damn it! Give me that money. Anyway, you did the work. It was so incredible to watch. It was a lot of fun. I mean, you're very humble in how you walk in, you carry yourself, and you just go out and get the work done. And I don't know how somebody can't be rooting for watching you do what you do. It's the perfection on the green, making use of all your tools in terms of getting yourself anywhere near a basket, and then always closing it out. It was a real pleasure to watch, and congratulations on this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Last, before we let you go, then is final shout outs. No, this one's an easy one for you. We're lobbing this one up. Final shout outs, sponsors, anyone you want to thank, anything you want to say, or ways people can go out and additionally support you by whatever means or links or codes or whatever. Go ahead and shout those all out.
For sure. Yeah. Always got to thank the sponsors, of course, DGA, Great Lakes Disc, Squatch Disc Golf Bags, and then Mitten Bags. A good way to support me, as always, buying the Tour Series when they come out. They'll be coming out about a month. And then they're just running some big sales after my win on DGA. If you want to buy some, Hurricanes and some Stone BLs, get the putters I putt with. It works out for me. Hopefully it works out for you. And then go check out Great Lakes Disc. They got some limited edition discs they just came out with. So anything DGA, both those stores got it. So
awesome. All right. Well, Andrew, enjoy your time in Arizona. I hope it warms up just a little bit more while you're down there for the next few weeks. And then a few weeks after that, I'm going to see you out in Vegas, and looking forward to kicking off the 2023 Disc Golf Pro Tour season. You already got this nice 8-tier win under your belt, and looking forward to more from you this season. So best of luck. Be safe, and we'll see you in Vegas.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good night,
all right.
Andrew.
See ya. Our champion, Andrew Marwede, on the MPO side.
I know we've said it before on the podcast. Drivers tend to sell discs. Like watching someone throw an awesome drive, like a crush plastic 400, 500 feet sells discs. But if you think about it, his putters should be flying off the shelves, because putting inside the circle is something almost we can all do. physically.
Mm-hmm.
And as I stated, I think 3 straight years in the top of the putting league. I think
I
one
run
year he was
commercials
tied-
on that, bro.
I know you
Yeah,
do.
it's amazing.
Someone was very impressive. Like, how does he do that? And then you went to one of his commercials. It was a great segue, Terry. I'm just thinking like those discs should be out of stock everywhere all the time, because if they work this well for Andrew, there's no reason they can't work for everybody.
Yeah.
He's I'm sure some of it is practice, but I'm sure some of it's the disc.
I think it's all the disc.
Wow, you're really gunning for that DG cash, aren't you?
Yeah, pay me.
Me, I'll just take like a stack of 10 of his putters. That's all I'm much cheaper than you, Terry. That's unsullied to ask for cash, but to ask for discs, that's different.
No, I think I could use a stack of those too. All right, I'm going to send, I think in a moment, once I get a few little housekeeping here, we will reach out to our next guest who's going to be joining us. Spoiler alert, she was able to squeak out a victory this weekend and performed quite well in her new home state where she's been for a couple years.
And new for like 7 years.
I know. I guess she's not from there anymore. Anyway. Without further ado, we have our FPO champion from this weekend's action over there at the Shelley Sharp Memorial presented by Spinners on the Green. We're going to welcome in now Jennifer Allen. Hey, Jen, you probably have to click on a button
to unmute. There you go.
How about I just turn on my mic?
You could do that too.
Yeah.
It's
been a long day.
She's a professional. She hosts a podcast.
Yeah.
So
I've been on here all day long too, so I keep turning it off after every time. So
that's a good practice. I always turn off Johnny V's mic even when we're on. So
that's what I thought.
It's better that way. Welcome in. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're great. We're back. I'm back in Wisconsin, and we're just a few weeks away from the rest of the official disc golf season to kick off. Are you ready?
I want more practice.
Did I see that you shot 2,000 rated rounds? How are you not ready?
I did. I wanted 3.
Oh, right.
Geez.
Yeah, I know, because shooting 2,000 rated rounds on one of the Elite Series events will only get you probably top 3.
Exactly. Exactly. Wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough. That's what I like to hear.
All right. So we talked to Andrew about some of the changes this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been kind of an objective of the event and the course or the event staff with the course in terms of having a number of the tee pads have been altered throughout the last couple of years to have FPO tee pads. But then also this year we saw them change up a few of the pars for the holes. And clearly we all know at the end of the day low score wins.
Right.
In your case, a 23-stroke margin of victory is regardless of par. Either way, you won by 23, so it doesn't matter what pars are. But what to you strike you for the changes that were in play this week? Does it matter to you?
No, because like I said, I was still kind of a little bit irritated that I left strokes out there. And that was, watch the footage. I left strokes out there. But definitely some of the pars were very soft for us. It is kind of nice to see that, I guess, the FPO and MPO scores were kind of close, so that is nice, I guess, way to kind of design the course, maybe, that they could be played fairly closely on what we can accomplish. I did talk to Dan Ginley and a few others that I feel like definitely some of the pars were weak for us, but they were played by all female competitors. So, for an am or a novice player to, play some of those really long holes as par 4s would be very difficult, especially, like hole 7 to me felt a little soft as a par 5. But if you consider, an AM woman trying to play, it's probably about, I don't know, close to 500-foot hole, and then it was made in Island. So, it makes sense why the pars were a little higher. But for an open player, some of them were a little soft.
Sure.
I think I counted, there was probably, probably about 6 eagle attempts out there. The 2 eagles that I had on Sunday were literally drop-ins.
Sure.
So that makes it feel like it really honestly on day 1 kind of changed my game plan. On hole 7, I bogeyed it on the first day, and I had a drop-in eagle on the last day. So, and it was just because I changed the way I was playing it, because they were like, "Oh, it's a par 5." And I was like, "Okay, I'll just pitch up and lay up and just get a tap in birdie, I guess." And it was not my play. My play is aggressive, and unfortunately I changed up a little bit of my play because of the pars, and it cost me, a stroke here or there, but
which is funny to hear for me to hear you say that, because the distances didn't change, and so the lowest score still wins. So it's funny.
Right.
It's interesting. Maybe interesting is a better word than funny.
Different mentality.
Yeah, it's a different. It's interesting though to have such a different mentality, because, like you said, hole 7 was the same hole as it was on round 1 as it was on round 3, but your frame of mind changed about it.
Yeah, I was tucked in. I've been attacking it and getting the easy 3 for the last couple of weeks practicing. But the first day, there was a small child kind of fishing with her dad, and I was, a little hesitant to really push the water's edge on that drive, and so I was a little bit pinched off on the left side towards the tree. So my approach on that green is a big spike hyzer, and I didn't feel like I could get the height and the turn to get around that last Mando safely. But then after the fact, I decided I was an idiot, because I could have thrown it straight out of bounds and went up to the drop zone and jump putted for my par. So next time I'll just throw it straight out of bounds, and you can save your par. So there's notes and easy how to play that hole for anyone else.
So just so everyone does know, in case you didn't see the coverage yet, on the MPO side, the FPO coverage is getting worked on as well. Hole 7, 17, and 18 out at the Vista course have been altered in the sense that there's actually an island green that surrounds those baskets. And hole 7 is after the very long walk that you take to get from 6 to 7, and it's part of the other side of the course, so to speak. And it's usually it's about 650 feet, par 4, typically.
Is it that long?
Yeah, it's 650 or 660 or 680, something like that. And once you cross that second sidewalk that's out there, you have to land inside this island green, which is about a 10-meter in size. And it definitely made people contemplate, as you were just talking about your strategy, right? It totally changes up. I think it changes up how you play 7 more than it does how you play 17 or 18. Because 17
Absolutely.
and 18, you're trying to throw to those exact spots regardless, right?
Right. They're 280 feet.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
those are, that one, 17 was, I think it was only harder because a lot of the women that I practiced with or played with or whatever, really kind of use that slide approach. That's such
Sure.
if you're going at that basket with any kind of height, you're usually going to go OB left. And so it's not a bad play to land short and slide up towards that pin placement because of the slope of the green. But when there's a wall at Circle's edge, that really kind of affected and made several of the women go out of bounds on that one or go to the drop zone.
Yeah, and 17, I think some people may contemplate the forehand. They may not feel super comfortable with it, but because you can't play the skip, it does bring a forehand play. I mean, if you get it anywhere on
which
there,
is always
and
a
it
safe
rolls,
play.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and if it happens to roll, that wall actually stops
Saves
it.
you.
Yeah,
It
so
did.
and I think that's going to be an interesting question that will definitely come into play. Is the Pro Tour has really taken a specific approach to saying, in almost every instance, I think that the wall, a wall of that sort is not the defining line.
Right.
And this weekend they played it as it really was, and it stopped you right at OB, so to speak. And I'll be interested to see if people like it one way or another, if they feel strongly about it.
It
Because
was
clearly it
definitely
can save you
something we
strokes and it can,
discussed.
yeah, give
Yeah.
them away, right?
Yeah. Right, because on that green specifically, 17, has always been that hole. Do you risk running the birdie putt or par
Mm-hmm.
putt or whichever? Because if you hit cage or even spit out, there's a high chance you're rolling out of bounds.
Exactly.
And so that did happen a couple of times where the roll was stopped by the wall. So if there was that meter in front of the wall of OB, which is, for putting anyways, you want that space. That would have added a few more strokes to folks.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So it's I don't know that there's a wrong or a right way. I see pros and cons to both sides of it.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't create any confusion, just knowing if that's the rule they're going to play with at this particular event, which is not on the tour.
Right.
That
Or the
everybody
memorial.
that they understand that it's, it's the walls themselves. Now, you talked about practice, but you've been playing about the same amount of time as Johnny, although you play way more than we do. But you've been playing disc golf for quite some time. What is it going into this season that you really still want to get focused or dialed in on, or just out there practicing? What in particular?
Definitely my putting. I'm a great putter. It's all just trusting that I am that great putter when I'm out there during the tournament. And I definitely left a few. It's just that hair, a bit of softness, and didn't help that half the baskets at Vista are elevated and it was windy, and so that always adds to it out there. And those baskets I don't feel catch very well.
Hmm, really?
So yeah, I don't think so.
Really?
Not
Okay.
really.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
that's your opinion. That's fine. Okay.
yeah. So but I just want to go out there just as confidently as I do in the backyard and hit all my putts like Andrew and everybody else. But
Just think how grand life would be if you putted if we
God,
all putted like Andrew.
like no stress, like just walk in the park.
Turn the whole sport into just a driving game.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, if
it
you're
would be so fun.
coming from the world's furthest thrower,
Yeah.
Oh,
That'd be
geez.
great.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. It's
But no, I wanted. I mean, I don't want to put the stress on putting as much, so I've been working on dialing in up shots and getting my accuracy, as close as possible on every distance that I need to. Dialing in that little soft forehand. I use that quite a bit this weekend. Typically only with for some reason, I can flick my Yeti putter so great. And so my Yeti goes 150, and that's max. My son convinced me to try the Cayman for I don't know, it was probably pushing 190 approach, and it didn't happen.
it's not really. I mean, the
Wasn't
Cayman's
ready.
more stable
Yeah.
and a little bit faster, right, than a Yeti
Yeah.
putter. So it's interesting that I would think if you just increase the stability a little, I mean, you could just
It's
put a little
the
bit more on it.
glide. Yeah,
Okay.
so I have the 2 pins in the elbow, and that's why I never did forehand because it hurts when I try to throw it hard.
Okay.
And so with the putter, I literally learned that I could do this because I tried way back in the day when everyone tried to learn how to do forehands.
Mm-hmm.
But I really realized that, hey, if I do it really softly, I can do it when I was teaching the schools. And so I have my 115 skeeters that I take into the schools, and I teach forehand, even though I don't do it much. I still teach the kids, and the skeeter just flies. And so then I just kind of carried that over to the Yeti, and it just has a great glide, and it's turned into a really good just 150-foot approach shot. So trying to work that in more.
I was just gonna say whatever works, right? I mean, there's no wrong way to go about it.
Yep.
What does your season and your tour kind of look like, knowing that you obviously have been dabbling and performing well and winning and doing stuff in both divisions, both Masters and Open? What's kind of the game plan for this year? And are there any decisions getting tougher?
I really struggled. This first big decision was skipping the Champions Cup. And
Okay.
I was kind of sad because I got that invite by winning the Australia Open or Championship. But it's the same weekend as the reunion at Masters Cup at De La.
Mm.
And I want to play our tree bash here, the A-tier in Flagstaff, because that is a great practice for Masters Worlds. So I still wanted to play Santa Cruz, but it's the same weekend open as the tree bash. And so I just kind of had to finagle it into where I decided to skip the major, go play the champion or Masters Cup instead of the Champions Cup, and then that way I can play Tree Bash. And so that's one Masters event that I'm going to be playing instead of FBO.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that's where I feel like your heartstrings get pulled on, the people,
it does,
the location.
it's so hard.
You know, I mean, rather than traveling all the way across country, yeah, I mean, you're staying on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of crazy to see what it looks like. There's so much damage. So I'm curious to see what the beaches look like in a month or so.
So
totally trashed right at the moment.
Yeah.
And along with that, I was just going to say we had Callie McMorrin on a few weeks ago who talked about a Masters tour, which clearly is not in your game plan at this moment, but talk about a Masters tour existing and what does that mean, whether it's to you or to the sport.
I'm super excited for all of it. What she's doing, she's sticking her neck out there and working very hard. I wish the schedule lined up where I could support her more. I mean, she's clearly a great friend. So I would love to be out there her very first year, but unfortunately the tournaments just really didn't line up to where I could play many of her events. So I hope it, has great success so that in a year or two, when I'm tired of playing with these young kids, that I can take Callie's tour.
Okay. What do you look at that as a viable professional living, or do you see that, I'm talking about the Masters tour, or do you see that as something that people may take to if they've already retired or are taking a sabbatical and have 6 or 9 months off? Like how do you see that? I mean, is it practical as a professional?
I think it'll go. Yeah, I think it would go back to what I was doing before, being able to work, healthcare and take off and go play some of the major events. So I would go back to working healthcare.
And that was going to be, I guess that's maybe my next question is, what is kind of your professional non-disc golf playing career? What's in the back of your mind, or what's the game plan for you?
For this year?
No, just I'll say in general, 5-10 years.
I will probably more than likely go back into healthcare. I love what I do. I love helping patients. I'm really, really good at it. I'd have to say I'm not I'm a pretty humble person, but I think I'm a much better healthcare worker than I am a golfer. And so I love my job, but breaks are good. And COVID, definitely, I wanted a break from messing with that. And we got bought out by Medicare, and that was a disaster, or different and complicated, just in case Medicare is listening. So I wanted a break from that, and I wanted a last couple shots at really trying to give it my all and see where I can still hang with the FPO players, and then I'll move up to where I'm just mainly playing Masters events.
Okay. It's exciting to see the Masters division start to fill out and become that much more of a conversation piece week in and week out. And all of us in the similar-ish age range, and so we know a lot of these people, and a lot of these people we grew up with playing, competing against, and or they were tournament directors, but now are able to take different roles, whatever the case might be. It's just I really like how the Masters Cup took on that. That moniker of, the reunion event that they're calling it.
And that's why I just couldn't miss that. I've always loved that, homeschool kind of feeling, those great vibes when you get on those, OG courses. And so, talking to Tom, I interviewed him for PDGA Radio, it just like I knew I wanted to play it anyways. And then by the time I got done with that interview, I was like, Grant, I'm not going to see you in Georgia.
Makes perfect sense.
So,
So let's segue over to that. Of course, taking on, along with Grant Zellner, doing PDGA radio, something you didn't necessarily see yourself. I think that's a fair statement.
No, I remember years ago, you hated being on the microphone.
Yeah, you ran from us.
We would be like, hey, Jen, you want to come out? You're like, I don't think, maybe not my thing.
We'd have to like trip you just to put a mic in front of your face then.
But
here you are.
Ours is easier, so I don't have to like look at myself or anything. Ours is radio only. And so I can talk. I just don't like the whole video.
I can talk. I mean, Johnny's got a face for radio. How's it going? Like, how many episodes are you personally? Like, how many
That's
of
a
you
Grant
guys?
question. He's a numbers guy. We're into, our second year. So we started January 1st last year.
Okay.
At first we were doing an episode a week, and now with all the travel, with him traveling so much more and doing that too, we're switching to every 2 weeks. We did that kind of towards the end of last year, I think, something like that. It was easier. We did longer episodes instead of like weekly short episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been fun, works good. You get an interview. I love bringing back all of the older players or historians of the game, interviewing all of, the greats and letting the new viewers, get to hear a little bit of the history, because they don't know that, they just know what they see right now. They know Paul and Ricky and all of the new,
Current
huge
superstars.
yeah, all the exciting stuff that's going on right now, but the history of our sport is so incredible.
So I was just going to say, if you had to describe the podcast or give a plug for it, like explain to everyone else, if you're giving the elevator pitch on the PDGA podcast, how do you describe it? I mean, some people listen to other podcasts besides ours, apparently. So how would you describe? Yeah.
we take up a lot of time.
Yeah, we do. No, but how would you describe it to everyone?
Much shorter. Ours are much shorter.
That's not saying much.
That's a great sell.
But no, we try to give a wide variety of interviewing. Like I said, people who helped, start this sport, to our huge stars right now, to, we had Robert on going over the new rules. Like, it's just a wide variety. This next episode that's dropping on the 7th, we just interviewed David Wiggins and Albert Tom for the U.S. distance competition that is going to be out in 2 days on Disc Golf Network and Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube.
Let's plug.
And so for them. But we just, so if there's something exciting coming up, we try to maybe get them on, to help promote that, or if something happened. But it's not so much where, you guys are so great on like the right now, the action that happened just now, or, what's going on in the current moment. Ours isn't always the current moment. We can try to be, but we just, try to interview a variety of people. Like we interviewed Kristen and Silver last year together. We just interviewed Paige and Grady. So we do, sometimes can get a few couples on there. For Portland, we were able to interview Val and Nate and help kind of promote what they've done with the sport and what they're doing now. So it's just a wide variety.
And that's PDGA Radio. You can find it on any of the podcasting apps. Podcatcher. I'm a subscriber. I listen when.
Thanks.
I do listen when when I look at. Terry, how you doing? Oh, he takes a drink.
That is one of my favorite podcasts. It definitely is.
When I look at some of the guests, I'm like, oh, this is one I really want to listen to. Otherwise, I get right to it. Sometimes they sit for a few days, but really
don't blame you. I don't always listen to him immediately either. So it's no.
Well, you live to
doesn't
it.
affect me.
I barely want to listen to my own podcast. Gosh.
I have to sometimes go back and listen to make sure,
Yeah.
like, how was that? But
Well, you
Grant
guys
does all the editing. So
I was just gonna say, you
He
guys
makes
like
you sound smart.
post-produce
Yeah.
stuff. Like you like fix, you make mistakes.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Well,
Who's got time for that?
not always, but we get to cut out the ums and the okay, is there anything else you want to talk about? Like, he cleans all that up. Sometimes
Yeah.
we're really good, and sometimes it's just like he doesn't have any work to do. But then there's times I feel like he needs to work harder, and so I'll try to screw up. And
It's a good idea.
Yeah, you gotta make sure that money is spent in all the right places.
That's right.
Exactly,
These are your
exactly.
PDGA dues and funds
Yes.
going,
Yes.
They're going to Grant Zellner editing ums.
Exactly. Yep.
So
That's
then
right.
that begs the question: is this just one little piece? Is this a start? Is this a
You have media in your future.
yeah?
I have enjoyed doing the commentary. I definitely jumped in. Grant and I did all, I don't know if we did all of the majors together, but we did, I think I helped him with all of the FPO or FPO 40 or AM. We did, I helped with the AM women's for their worlds. So I helped with the PDGA commentary, Ace Run Pro. Sometimes maybe Terry might have me on to commentate. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes, maybe.
But, yeah, sometimes. But I have enjoyed that, actually. I was kind of shocked to really get into that side of it as well. So it's nice to know that if I can't play in 10 years, maybe I can still be out there doing something.
Certainly.
It's one of the nice things, especially getting to your podcast every week. You get a lot of reps in front of the mic. It makes you more comfortable. You have a lot of experience, like us. Not saying you're old, saying you're like us.
Nope.
We've been playing for a long time, and so you have a great perspective that a lot of younger people maybe don't have. So it's really nice to be able to focus that.
We've all played our 20 plus years. Interviewing David today, it was really funny because he started, I think he first threw when he was 4, and then he first played like junior worlds when he was 8. And then Grant was like, well, so you've been playing for a long time. Like, how old are you now? He's like 27. It's like, yeah. So you've been playing as long as I have, but yet you're 27. Oh, wow. So there's some people who've been playing 20 plus years and they're still young. Believe it or not, it's crazy.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I was.
I don't think that's the norm yet, but that's going to be in 20 years. That's very much going to be even more so the norm, where it's like, wait, you're only 32 and you've been playing for 22 years or whatever. Yeah, that's becoming more and more common. Again, we were all pretty fortunate to find it in our teens.
There's a lot of people our age that are now obviously with kids. You've got teens, I've got teens. Jen, you've got teens and older.
All over. I got them all over.
Yeah, you have them all. And so we've been bringing kids out to the course, and at some point, some of those kids are going to love it. Maybe ours, do or don't at times, but they're definitely going to love it, and they're going to join in, and they're going to play, and they're going to be the future.
I'd love to give my son, he's not listening, but I'll give him a little plug today. It was really fun. He finally convinced a couple of his friends to go out and play today. I was a good mom, and I stayed home and I let them go by themselves. I gave them some disc, and he texted me. They are hooked for life because he got to throw in a 350-foot ace in front of him.
Wow,
so he got a
move.
huge ace in front of his friends on the very first time that they played with him. So that was super fun today. So yeah, 1 out of 3 kids is probably going to be good in my house.
Yeah, there's and it can get to be overload. I know it's great when everybody plays in a family, but sometimes that has to get. I mean, if you're over there at the the Schultz house, the Silas and Esther Schultz, and again, I think only about half of their kids play, and that's still like 20. So that's a lot of tournament entry fees.
Well, that on top of that, at some point, I'm sure those kids are like, I want to sneak out and play by myself.
Yeah,
if I can maybe sneak away for a round and don't have to play with my 3 siblings or whatever happens to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great that we're seeing this growth. It's something that we all envisioned so many years ago, but to see where it's gone just in the last few years and the explosion. I love basking in the fact that we got to see this massive explosion in our lifetime, just never knowing if it was going to come. And now we've had what we've had over the last few years, and clearly we have no idea where it's going to go yet, but
I know we could be looking at this in 20 years and being like, remember when we thought that was the big explosion? And or it could be in 20 years, be like, oh, that was great. Those were great times.
Yeah. But to know that we met who started this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little things like that. It doesn't matter how big the sport is going to grow. Like, it's cool to know that we were kind of there when it all really, really started. And so we get to see the full picture. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah. You met Steady Ed, right? Yeah, we've all met Steady Ed. I've got disc signed. Terry's got disc signed and other things. Yep. And it's, not many, the future can't say that. How many
I have a
people...
personal disc signed where he almost hit me in the head at Am Worlds. And so he was testing out, I think it might've been the XCal at Terry. You were there, right? Am Worlds in Kansas City, 99.
99. Yep. Johnny was there. I was there. Yep.
So he was testing off that XCal at Swope Park and almost hit me in the head. We were warming up putting for the final 9, and so he signed it Duck Steady Ed.
Duck Steady Ed.
Get out of my way, kid.
Steady Ed throwing an XCal. That's so funny.
Not XCal, XL.
XL.
Okay,
XL.
Yeah. XL makes more sense. I was like, wow, an XCal. Yeah. Like that's a
Yeah,
stable.
no.
That was a few years later, but yeah. Either way, yeah.
Wrong company.
I mean, you never know what he's gonna do. But
I ask it all the time, especially here at the beginning of the season. But like, what's now on the bucket list? You and I have talked about where you haven't gotten to yet, and then what do you get to check off this year that you're planning on in terms of your travels and experiences or courses, on or off the course? What's kind of on your list?
I really wanted to go to Japan. Like, we've been wanting to go over there. I have every disc that they sold at Las Vegas for fundraisers. It's just, gosh, the schedule is so busy. Like, it's impossible, and it never fails. Like, same thing. I won't be going over to Europe again this year. And like, I have the best, tour guides around with Henna and Evelina to take me over there. But, both years, last year and this year, either right before, days after is a Masters World Championship or one of our other majors. And so it's just impossible. I even wanted to really try to go back to Kansas City. I haven't played there in years, but it's right before Masters Worlds. And so, you really can't even play a tournament the weekend before, but if you're doing doubles or distance or anything else, because they start that weekend. So it really, World Championship takes, 2 weekends. So that took out Rochester. I was kind of wanting to play Rochester Open right before Vermont. But it's silly. It's impossible. So there's still a few out there that I want to go back and play one day.
Yeah, there's no way at this point in our careers you can play every event you want to. It's almost impossible if you truly want to hit and be relevant on the Pro Tour to be able to hit all these other fun events or ones that are close to you. You have to be picky. You have to pick and choose these days.
Yeah, and there's always a couple of good ones every weekend. So it definitely makes it difficult to pick and choose.
Yeah, and I think to go on that point of the Japan Open, which I think it does hurt a little bit that there's not a PDGA sanctioning necessarily attached to it. I think that although it's this incredible cultural experience, and
it looks incredible.
Yeah, and this lifetime experience, and Innova and the rest of the crew are going to do this amazing job with it, when there's no tie to, any kind of PDGA recognition, and I guess that's a compliment. Yeah, that's a compliment to the PDGA and to that there is that value that feels like it should be attached. I mean, for many years it's been considered a major, and they just have a different philosophy with it, which I also can embrace and understand. But it's too bad that I don't think enough of our top level players will go make an experience of it. It just
I think it would either have to be a major or on the tour in order to get people to go there.
Agree.
Not even an A tier. I think you could make it the greatest A tier, and it's still not going to draw people away from the current tour and majors. It's so tough.
I just think if it was a free weekend, if it wasn't so packed, I would go without the sanctioning in a heartbeat.
Sure.
Because I want to go for the experience. I'm not going for the money. I'm not going. I mean, even going over to Australia or Thailand, Terry, like we're not going for the payout.
Yeah.
Like there was no way. I don't even think my payout in Australia could have paid for like the taxis or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you're not going to those countries to make money. You're going for the experience and to meet new people and to see how disc golf is played in other countries. I'm sure European Open is a little bit different. Clearly, it's gone to that professional level. But if you're looking at any of those other countries, I think it's strictly for the experience.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like, again, back in 2008 and 2010, when I had gone to Japan Open,
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you were so much about, hey, we're playing this in another country, which at the time was so much more, pardon the pun, more of even a foreign concept, just simply because it wasn't economical,
Right.
from a business perspective, and you went for the experience. But now traveling internationally is, and that's another subject on our show tonight, is just the fact that we're seeing like tours, we're seeing coverage, we're seeing a viable, realistic, traipsing around of Europe next year or this year, and that's going to be incredible. So we've come a long way.
All of them over here. I mean, like there's definitely, I feel like we're about to get to another level on complete international play.
For sure.
World championships will be world championships pretty soon.
Yeah. And you spoke of Evelina and Henna a little while ago. Is it just, do you assume with your conversations with them and your friendship with them that them coming here for 3 and 4 month stints is just going to become the norm for them? Are they essentially going to be here all the time, every year?
I don't want to speak for them, but I would think yes. I think you can stay 3 months. Is that correct? And then you have to go back, and you have to go back for just a day.
Yep.
You have to go back, and then you can come right back. So I'm sure all of them will be doing 2, 3, different little tours back over here. I'm sure will all be going back to play the, most of that big track of the European tour, and then be right back here to finish it up in the US.
Yeah, which is just incredible that we have, like we're saying, this
opportunity.
Even the notion and the opportunity and the arrangement and the scheduling and the timing and the financial viability of it all. Like that was all almost crazy. I mean, I ran into Albert, who you said you had just interviewed, but talking to Albert Tom this weekend, he had just landed within the last few days or so. He's in Arizona, and he said, yeah, I just want to be here to practice. It's much warmer weather here. It's gorgeous here. I have an RV.
But not really.
Well,
oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, he would
Arizona
still take
girl.
55.
35.
Yeah, he'd still take 55 over 0.
That's true.
But just the fact that, I mean, he's got an RV here. To be here and then take on, and he just said that makes the most sense. I know where I'm going to sleep every night. I've got my touring scheduled. Yeah. Like that is just sounded crazy to all of us 10 years ago. And he's not the only one. Yeah.
No, I mean, and for Henna and Evelina, well, and Kristen and Silver talked about it too. Their greatest expense is renting a car.
Yeah.
And it's like, if there's any way we could figure out how to get them an insurance over here, it'd be cheaper to buy a car and sell it at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I think there will be, and I don't know how all that works. I know Simon, was able to, before he moved here, he was able to get that special, athlete visa, which extended his stay. So I don't know if more of them will be able to start getting that, if that will open up where they can purchase or keep things over here or have insurance where they can do that instead of having to rent cars. I think a lot of that, hopefully the kinks will get worked out and be a lot easier on all of them.
Yeah, it's amazing that a lot of people don't even take that into account when they think of the tour life. Like you're renting a car for like, for like 5 months.
It's expensive.
I mean,
It's expensive.
Yeah, I can only imagine how many thousands of dollars that's going. That is just
Multiple.
to be able. Yeah, obviously, just to be able to get back and forth. Because you're right, it would be better for somebody locally to buy a car and then loan it out to them or something along those lines. But again, then that takes insurance and all these other things that you need to take into account.
Yep.
I'm smelling a business plan here somewhere.
We need more Europeans to come over before we make this a business.
Well,
otherwise you're just literally taking advantage of like 2 poor girls.
I'm just saying that, with the more people that are coming over, the way
Some
that it could
insurance
get done.
company needs to. Yeah.
Huh. Do we know anyone
don't own it.
that's related to the
don't own an
PDGA that does
insurance
insurance?
Huh. Almost like there used to be a major event in the Midwest here with a insurance backer.
Yeah, or somebody that sits on the PDGA board that knows about insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've got those connections to the PDGA.
Heinold, I want a
Maybe.
commission of all of this. That's what I'm saying. I need a commission on all this, Nate Heinold. Yeah. Oh, I mean, this could be This could be a PDGA, like a PDGA Europe or just a PDGA bonus, not a bonus,
Perk?
member perk of some sort. Yeah. I don't know.
Program.
Put it on the
European program.
That's right.
I'm an idea man. I just don't do it. Anyway, real quick, I do want to have a conversation that irked isn't the right word, but I'm looking for personally. This is a little self-serving on assistance. Assistance with we need more coverage. B, we need more FPO coverage, and C, I can't do it all. So
Come on.
here's what I'm saying. Here's what I really do want to say, and I'm genuinely looking for feedback in that. There's times like this past weekend where I'm essentially taking on the coverage of the MPO action, and through just a blind, I'll call it a blind faith or a roll of the dice is maybe a better word. No, it's not even that. It's not even that positive. Anyway, I gather a couple other guys, take a chance on getting some additional coverage and some footage, and then go out and we film FPO, which I love the idea. Of course, we've filmed a ton of FPO. I think part of the disconnect or the challenge comes in. Here's where I need your help. How do we get more people involved, and how can we lower expectations on someone like myself that is a smaller crew and can't possibly turn around all coverage instantly that I'm not even really responsible for? Like, how can I call these people off me and get them to back off?
So you say, hey, guess what? We have all this extra footage because this awesome college kid donated his time, and I'm going to get to that and give it to you, and it's going to be amazing as soon as I can.
But he didn't even donate his time. I paid him out of my own pocket.
Oh,
yeah. So
okay, I didn't know that.
I've taken that on, which I'm okay with doing.
Have you watched it yet?
Yeah, I'm mostly through round 1, which he in this case is graciously, his name's Tyler. He had reached out to me through Instagram, and then we started talking about stuff, and I said, well, I'm gonna take a chance on you being a good cameraman. He is just that. I was
really curious. Because of all his angles.
I'm editing his. Yeah, I'm editing his first round, and he admitted this is the first ever round of golf he's filmed, and he admitted to being a little bit nervous and working out a few details, and so far it's been great. And again, we're in round 1. He said he felt he even got better in rounds 2 and 3. All totally understandable.
Did.
All totally understandable. My very selfish challenge is the idea that I sometimes get challenged or chastised because the FPO coverage isn't out yet, or maybe it doesn't even exist in some events. How do we fix all of that?
You can't, Terry. You cannot do all of it. We cannot be in 2 places at once. You cannot do more than you can do. So we just have to be thankful. People have to be grateful and thankful that you are doing that, and we're going to get it when you get it done. And we should appreciate that. It's just the way the world is. I'm sorry.
No. And I'm not looking, again, I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I appreciate the kind words, but like what's the next solution to others? Like, no one would have argued if somebody showed up and said, "Hey, we'll cover FPO this weekend." I don't think anyone would have argued with that.
No,
but we don't
not.
have those people beating down that door either. So
because I don't know personally, but Terry, is it a huge money making deal? Like, I think
no.
until
no,
exactly,
it's a big money losing deal.
Yeah. So until the sport continues to grow, like, we should be very grateful for what we get, I think. But I've been around here for a little bit and we're a little more mature audience.
I just, of course, I want the coverage. The rest of the world wants the coverage, so on and so forth. There's just literally both a time and money component to it.
Yeah.
That there's no one entity that can fully solve it and be solvent, be profitable, be practical about it.
Right.
And so I'm generically asking for some form of, well, A, an answer, but B, some kind of call out or plea for others, because the opportunities are there. And we know Ace Run, who's often on the board, Ace Run has been through this grind. GK Pro has been through this grind. I've been through this grind. We need more people out there willing and able to take on these efforts. And
do you
yeah.
Do you think that if the sport continues to grow just a little bit more, you will get more college kids like Tyler, more school projects that these, you get to these towns and you guys could reach out to the colleges and be like, hey, who needs, extra credit, or, and can they edit? Do you trust? But that's the thing. Do you trust some college kid to edit it like you would if they don't know what disc golf is?
Yeah, I think if you're not a disc golfer, I think you're in big trouble there. I mean, if
you're not a disc golfer and you haven't watched coverage. Certainly.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty tall task. I like that idea. In the right cities, in the right towns, that might be relatively viable. I mean, Grant Draper on the board says, I'm a videographer. I'd love to travel and film disc golf, a literal dream, but I have a family to take care of. I would quit.
Yeah, and it just doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, it absolutely doesn't. And so, I don't think it's a lack of people having the desire, but there's a practicality of it. And that's what I think is one of the biggest challenges. So, anyway, it's something, and
we need to get more sponsors, Terry. More sponsors. What can we do for more sponsors?
I mean, the problem is, obviously, as everyone knows, the sponsors are being tapped out because they're covering what gets the most eyeballs, which is right now the Pro Tour, the silver events. So it's a lot harder now, I feel like, to get probably significant sponsorship for some of your bigger A tiers. Now, that's just not where the eyeballs are, and that's not where the quote unquote smart money is these days. It really is a problem that I don't know if it's going to be solvable, because even up until, I don't know about last year, but FPO coverage on the Pro Tour isn't always profitable. I mean, I've talked to the guys at GK and they, they get through with, and because of some of the extracurriculars that they do on their channel. FPO coverage a lot of times doesn't pay the bills for them. And you've got MPO coverage, which will get 100,000 or 150,000 views, or 200 or 250,000. We're looking at the FPO coverage, and it's still only getting sometimes 20,000, 40,000, 50,000 views, and that's just not, as we know, enough to.
So what do we need to do? Do we need to do a little side dance, or
no? I think just
little to get some more.
It's getting more better. Views. I mean, it's getting better in that the better the FPO field gets, the more interest it will bring. Just like we saw with the MPO. Like, again, 5 or 6 years ago, MPO coverage wasn't paying the bills.
Right. Now look at the growth in the number of women who are playing now. So I think we'll catch up there. And I was talking to Patty Robinson from Australia today, and we were talking about how, they think it's so cool that we can actually have this as a career. But in Australia, clearly the game is not that big yet. And so everyone over there still works and plays like we used to, 10 years ago or whatever, however long you want to throw it back. But, he was saying too, we hope that, as we watch America, the sport grow, and, all the incredible changes that they hope that they will continue to follow in our footsteps and have the growth over there in their country as well. And so I think it's would probably be the same way as the number of women who continue to grow, there's going to be more women who hopefully want to watch women's coverage. And so hopefully that will continue to grow. And you just have that little bit of a lag until all that catches up. But I think we need a lot more sponsors, clearly, to cover it. And Terry, how many tournaments used to get covered? Worlds, major, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like you were saying, like there's people want coverage every week now. Every big tournament, they want coverage.
Next day coverage.
So, yeah. And so, like you said, sponsors aren't going to be paying weekly. They used to only have to pay maybe 4 times a year. So your pockets are getting emptied very frequently to get that coverage out there. And it is sad because people expect it, like you said. So,
yeah. And I do want to be very crystal clear. Like, I love my job. I love what I do. I love going to all sorts of events and to have the experiences and the people and the locals, the golf, the non-golf. Like, I am not complaining about the job or the people that view it. There also has to be a little bit of a, we have to recognize that.
Realism.
Yeah, just a practicality to it all. And
right.
And maybe I took a comment to heart a little too hard today that I got on my Facebook that just said, hey, and it could have been, and I think it was innocently asked as to, well, why isn't there FPO coverage, or why wasn't it MPO and then FPO or whatever? And it was, there's only so many hours in a day, and when funding is not just pouring out of the sky to have a team 5 or 10 or 20 deep. That's why there's your answer. And until that happens, I think people, I don't want to say
can
just
you respond one man show.
That's what I think.
One man show.
That's pretty much what I said. And I said I work a lot of hours in the day.
Where's your donation? And I'll get right on it.
So and again, I'm not lashing out at anyone or trying to, complain. I'm crying out for a solution that hopefully we can arrive at some more ideas for how things like that can happen.
Yeah.
Because it's otherwise it's a little bit overbearing. So there's a bit much. All right.
We need more Terrys.
Nobody said that ever. I don't know if that's the right idea.
I've never said that in my life. I've known him for 30 years.
I don't recommend that, but
that.
there needs to be other solutions.
Come on.
So, Carney out on the board says, I want more AM coverage. Go capture it, Carney. Get it.
Along with the Masters coverage and junior coverage. They're
they're the future of our sport. The Masters, those are our pioneers. Those are our pioneers of the sport. The legends, they're showing that the senior citizens are a viable entity too. Like, we can make an argument for literally every age, and they might be valid arguments. And I will say to every person that feels so passionate about it, you're welcome to go make it happen. Yep. Yeah. And I do mean that with sincerity.
Yeah, no one's stopping anybody.
Yeah, I picked up a camera, started a channel. You can do it too. More today than ever.
The other day, we reached out and we said, hey, we want to get more women's perspectives on podcasts. If there's anyone out there that's, wants to do a podcast that's a woman from your perspective, reach out to us. And we had someone reach out, and she's like, well, I do podcast pretty much during the off season. And then I kind of shut it down, and I spin back up and this and that. She's like, how'd you guys get your network the way you did? And I'm like, network? Like, literally, it's Terry and I. We picked up a mic 8 years ago. Like, that's all we did. And she's like, really? You guys sound like you have it so together. It's like, well, thank you first of all, but no, literally just anybody can do it. There's zero barriers these days.
Yeah, so get after it. All right, well, we're going to let you get after it. Thank you for joining. But before we let you go, since we'll be seeing you a ton this year and we're looking forward to it, give some shout-outs, plugs. How can people support you? Where do they need to go find your stuff or promo codes to use? Give us the spiel.
Continued thanks to Innovadisc, and hopefully some more incredible tour series will be out that everyone can purchase throughout the year. Hopefully we'll have 2 of those again this year, and I plan on keeping the exact same ones. We all love my T-Bird, which is absolutely amazing. And then Innova was great enough to give us a second disc, which I had the Halo Rock 3, which both discs were absolutely flew perfectly for me. So I hope to get the exact same, where they come out just exactly the same. Like, what do you want to tweak this year? Absolutely nothing. Don't touch it. Just make it exactly the same. So I hope to get those that you guys can get out and support me with. You can follow me, Jennifer15354 on Instagram. And then hopefully I'm going to make a few things to sell throughout the year, do a little bit more, hopefully. We'll see.
You got any exclusive? Give us an exclusive hint here. What are you working on?
Well, I was going to say also thank you, Zuka, who you can also purchase my Zuka cart if you want a beautiful, bright Arizona sky kind of native theme bag. I absolutely love it, and there might be something a little bit more with that coming. And then thank you, Grip, as well. So when I have to fly, the Grip bag is the only way to go for me. And yeah, hopefully some merchandise this year. I made my own stamp that I sold and took out with me last year on the road here and there. And so I plan on making another stamp or two.
Are we going to continue to see you on the Zuka commercials and the giant Zuka truss? Do we get a giant Jen Allen all year again?
Maybe.
Oh, I hope so. All right.
Yeah. I may have a friend on there this time.
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but there might be more than one or two.
Okay. I can't wait to see.
Who do you think it is, Terry? Come on, good guess. I'm not going to answer, but you can guess. It shouldn't be a hard guess.
Andrew Zimmerman.
I don't know if that's a spoiler alert, though. I don't know if Zuko would get mad if I. So, but yeah, there might be a few of us this year.
A few trusses, maybe.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I don't trust that. All right, Jen, keep doing great things. It's awesome seeing you out there. Congratulations on the incredible performance this weekend, and looking forward to you dabbling still in your FPO or I'm sorry FP40 action, as well as the MPO or the I could almost spit this out.
All of it. I might play MPO. Everything. I might play MPO 40.
There you go.
Who knows?
Yeah, you can hang. Absolutely.
I've done it once.
Whatever division you play in, we're looking forward to seeing it. Congrats again on this weekend. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for doing the work over there at the PDGA Media, keeping Grant Zellner in line. And we'll see you in a few weeks.
No one has to.
Exactly.
We won't edit this at all, I promise.
No. Have a good night.
Jen.
Thank you, guys.
See
Bye.
Bye. All right, everyone. Jen Allen.
They edit their stuff, Terry. Why don't you do that for us?
Because I don't make mistakes. I almost said that. No, I didn't.
What division is she playing?
She can play wherever she wants.
She can.
Like yeah, I'm not going to discriminate. She can play wherever she wants. All right, Nate. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us. So we're gonna have another guest, and it very, very FPO centric, in fact, because she's gonna be I should say all women's divisions centric or focused. We're gonna have Krissie Fountain in a little while. I guess the question is, do we have her headline our after show in a sense, or do we keep rolling? I think we have her headline the after show technically.
That sounds good. We can do that. Yeah, it'll force people to tune into the after show.
Oh yeah, it will. And then my next question is there anything else we want to hammer on or talk about or discuss here in the regular show?
Yeah, we've got discussion points, Terry Miller.
All right, so let's get to that then.
First and foremost, let's get the big news out of the way. The DGPT announced, or DGN, depending on how you want to look at it, that they're going to be covering 7 additional events from the European tour, the Euro Tour. Now, I know this can be a little confusing because Europe, much like the US a couple years ago, they have 2 different tours. They've got the EPT, which is the European Pro Tour, and they've got the ET, which is the Euro Tour. The Euro Tour is the PDGA-backed tour, and the EPT is kind of like what the DGPT was like 5 years ago. So you've kind of got two, I don't want to call them competing, but they are, whether you like it or not, they're competing tours. And I would say that unlike what we were doing here, they don't necessarily coordinate as well as the DGPT and the national tour did. So there's going to be some overlap. I think there's 3 or 4 events, maybe 2, 3 or 4 events that actually overlap between the EPT and the ET. I know it's very confusing with all the acronyms and whatnot.
Where do I get to buy a Euro?
A Euro over at Oakland Euros.
Okay.
Yes.
Euro.
That's a gyro, a Euro.
Oh.
So
MVP sponsors this?
Oh man, God, confusing me, Terry. No. So anyway, so DGN is going to be covering 7 events. I think 2 of them are going to be done by the regular crew. So us, I believe that's probably going to. I'm certain it's going to be the PCS event, and there should be one more.
European Open?
Well, no, that one that doesn't count because we were going to cover that one. There's one more European Tour event that was going to count. Maybe it's the Island. Anyway. The other ones are going to be covered by a third party, which I'm drawing a blank on the name right now.
Okay.
But with the assistance of the Disc Golf Network. So I know there was some comments from the Europeans about the quality of this third party company in the past. And I can assure you from some talks that I've had and listening to Jeff talk about this, that they're going to be working with us. So they're going to have the Disc Golf Pro Tour graphics. They're going to be kind of doing that whole thing. And you're going to have simultaneous broadcasts between the EPT, the ET, and maybe even the Disc Golf Network, the DGPT, on the same weekends. It's going to be, there is no excuse if you want to watch disc golf this summer. Like
plenty of options.
Plenty of options. What does this mean for a lot of different things? That's a great question that I just asked out loud to myself.
Mm-hmm.
This could, in theory, in the long run, this could hurt the European Pro Tour. We know that, as we were just talking, sponsorship is not an infinite pit. There's a limit. So if the PDGA and the DGPT are really pushing the Euro Tour, pushing those purses and advertising up, that could affect the EPT and Disc Golf Stream, who I am a supporter of, and I have a subscription to Disc Golf Stream. I've talked with Juha, and I've helped him out. We've chatted back and forth. Great guy. I don't know what's going to happen. I know Jeff had said that as always, they want to try to collaborate, but ultimately, the DGPT and the DGN is the official pro tour of the PDGA, regardless of where in the world it is. So if there's a Southeast Asian tour that springs up, the PDGA, in theory, can go there, start a new tour, and DGN has that. Has access to that. They are the official, they have rights to every official PDGA tour. So if there is a South American tour, if there's an African tour, if there's a Russian tour, whatever that is, DGPT has rights to cover that first and foremost. So that's kind of out there, as Jeff had said today. I hope for the best, because I know the guys at Disc Golf Stream are killing it, but I also know that they have got a lot of improvements they need to do as well. We've all probably hopefully watched some of the videos, and we're going to see what this means. What does this mean for Disc Golf Network subscribers? More videos, more coverage. I don't know all the details. I'm not involved, I don't think, in any of the broadcasts, thankfully. Hallelujah. But I'm excited to see what this can do for European disc golf in general. It gives them more options. Hopefully the best of the best will survive, and maybe we'll see a consolidation at some point. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Terry, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
I mean, just in hearing all that, it's understandable how some people are somewhat confused as to what's going to be offered and what it's all going to mean in the big picture, because of all these different tours and tour names and, particular either access and or rights to these different things. I haven't fully digested it all. I saw the release myself. Some people ask, what we know about it or what we thought about it. There was maybe a tiny rumbling. Well, I don't even want to say rumbling that we knew of. There was stuff that we had somewhat murmurs, I think is the word.
There were some murmurs, and I'll say this. This has been in the plans for months, probably since last year. Our spreadsheet that shows all of the different assignments and who's doing what and what weekends has had these European tour events, the Euro Tour events, listed in it since like November. When that spreadsheet was given to you and I. Those were in there. So this was, I personally thought they were, for a long time, that they were just filler, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on, because they were always blank. But now they're filled in.
Yeah. As others have said too, anyone that's not in the U.S. that wants to consume disc golf, it certainly is going to appease them and their time zones that much better, probably. I mean, think about everyone else that this will now probably be within 1 or 2 time zones, of where they are. I think of someone like Luke Butch, who earlier said today, he's happy with all of this as someone who's in Thailand, knowing that the time zones are that much more closely related as opposed to being the 6, 8, or 10-hour difference for everyone else here in the U.S. So from that perspective, I think there's going to be a lot of things that make a lot of sense. And then you just talk about just the overall energy and efforts that are going to be put on by all of these. It's no secret you're going to add this many more moving parts, many more entities and components. I think about the years that it's taken to get things to be a solid product, and now you're adding in this additional international component to all of it. I mean, you have to test it, you have to do it, but yeah, it's a massive undertaking. So I'm definitely excited to see how it's going to play out, what it's going to mean. Clearly, we're going to be introduced to so many more players, so many more courses, and like you said, I mean, ultimately, there's going to be no shortage of disc golf to watch.
You're not going to be able to watch it all.
Yeah, there's just no way.
You're going to have to. I mean, it's going to help. And this is where kind of the conspiracy and the dark side of the story comes in. It's going to help to have Paul over there, because if Paul's at some of these events, it's going to get viewership. We all know he draws eyeballs no matter what he does or where he is. There was some talks earlier about whether or not Paul had premature information about this, which he did not. There were talks about whether or not they did this because of Paul. They did not. But it's funny timing that Paul announces a Euro Tour, even though I know he wanted to do some last year, and then suddenly the Pro Tour says, "Oh yeah, we're going to be there too."
Yeah, but
it's a coincidence. I understand.
My main rebuttal to that be, what would be the right time?
Well,
right. Was there any time where he makes an announcement? Because if they make it the same day, that's going to look like it's a collaboration. Yeah. And if they said it and then he goes over there, some people could then look differently upon it. Like, in my opinion, with the effort of him consciously saying, I'm going to go there and spend so much time there, no matter when the Pro Tour or the Disc Golf Network says, hey, we're doing something there as well, no matter how you announce that, there's going to be some assumptions that are made.
Yeah, but and I talked to Mo a little bit about this. As far as my perspective was, I'm all for the coverage. I think it's going to be phenomenal to have more eyeballs on the European players and continent. Did they need to give them points? Because ultimately, I don't think these points are really going to matter too much. They're going to help out for touring cards, tour cards that they're going to get. That does help out quite a bit. But this late in the season, announcing an entire tour of additional points. I know there were some pros that had said, like, man, I wish I would have known about this. I don't know what they would have done any differently at this point, or what they can't still do differently. I mean, these things aren't going on for months and months, and I think there's only 1 or 2 of them that are full. I think that just the maybe the Pro Forester, it might be full,
possibly over,
and one other one maybe. So there's that. I just personally don't like the precedent of making these changes so close to when the tour is. And talking to Mo was like, yes, 100%. I really wish that we could have made these announcements last year. But these things also take time. And I mean, if it were up to me and up to Mo and everyone else, everything would be announced a year ahead of time just to avoid these things. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. It's very difficult to coordinate some of this stuff, and sometimes things fall in your lap. I don't know all the details about what's going on over in Europe, but it's quite possible that something just came together, quote unquote, at the last minute, or finally. They've been waiting on things to announce. Maybe they wanted to make this announcement 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and they just couldn't. So I don't necessarily think points are required on these, and I wouldn't have been opposed if they would have said, hey, we're going to broadcast these, but they're not going to get whatever. But these are just going to be silver events, basically. They're silver events. They can only count X amount of them. They're only going to count for 50% of your tour points, and same as what's going on over here. So that's kind of the big Euro news, and there's a lot to still unpack, and we're going to find out a lot more over the next probably month or so before the actual tour starts. Either way, I'm happy it's happening. I think it's going to be good for the sport.
All I really care about is it possible that I can screw up commentary and hosting in another language? And I think the answer is maybe.
Well,
I think the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
I can.
The answer is yes if it involves another language, because as far as I know, you don't speak another language.
I don't.
So then the answer is definitely yes.
But I'm saying, no matter where it is in the world, I can go make mistakes, and that excites me.
That does excite me. And I don't know, as far as commentary teams, what's going to happen, what language it's going to be in, if it's going to be
in a native language.
In a native language, because again, these are happening in like 6 different countries. So pick a native language, or if they're all going to be in English, most of the time these people, the Europeans, will understand English. So that's kind of the common denominator. My guess is that you're going to hear English speaking commentary as opposed to whatever the native language is.
Yeah, I'm not going to rule out anything, only because of what I saw taking place at the European Open this year, where there was a separate stream. See, I can't even do it in English. There was a separate stream that then was also being commentated in Finnish. So I'm guessing something like that has at least been discussed. I don't know if it's going to come to fruition, but I would be shocked if there wasn't a second commentary team providing some type of stream in the event's native language. That's just, what do I know though?
Well, I mean, I know that stream didn't get a lot of views, but if
that could also be just demographic.
That could be demographic. That could be poor advertising about that stream. There are a lot of things about that could have led to that, and I don't know all those details because I don't care about those details behind the scenes. So, but ultimately, we're gonna see.
All right. Well, I think that's most of the news that we saw this last week. Of course, we had the big events taking place. I didn't even get to it, so I will quickly read off, because here at SmashBoxx, A-tiers are our top concern. It's a whole other conversation.
Oh my God, no.
For the after show. It's not. We'll talk about that later. But I do want to quickly read off our other top performers of this weekend when I had the pleasure to be out there in Arizona. So Andrew Marwede, of course, your champion. Noah Meinsma of Team DGA, a fellow Team DGA teammate of his, took second. Jake Brown, who's a whole nother story, all in a positive way, of course, but a pleasure meeting Jake Brown this weekend. That guy has a bright future ahead of him and has only been playing 3 years.
Who's that?
Jake exactly. Brown? Jake Brown.
What?
He's only been playing 3 years. He's 20 years old, and here he is beating the likes of Gibson, Hammes, Gossage, Barella, Phil Mahala, Kale Laviska, Luke Sampson. Those were the next 9 or so people behind him, and this kid's been throwing a disc for 3 years.
That's not bad.
And he's got a baseball background, so
it seems that's a very common background for a lot of our big throwers, is a baseball background.
So those were your top performers this weekend. Congratulations to them on the MPO side. And on the FPO side, we talked with our champion, Jennifer Allen. We also saw Maria Oliva's very first tournament with her new sponsors that will be releasing soon. Maria Oliva in second, Sarah Isaac in third, and Michelle Sagboy in 4th, tying local Sammy Keddington. So those are your top finishers on that FPO side. And then I have to send another big shout out. Pete Ulibarri provided me with some drone shots. He went out and captured them the day before the tournament, and then went on to win the tournament. I mean, that's just karma.
That is karma.
And he's like a super great guy. But Pete Ulibarri is your champion on the MP40 side, edging out Chris Waugh. Congratulations. It was a nail biter, and I think this is one of the larger Arizona tournaments that Pete hasn't yet won. And so for him to take this down,
now.
he has won. And I had the pleasure of hanging out with his mom, Pat, having dinner on Sunday night along with the First Light crew, Dan and Robin, and just so many incredible people in Arizona. I could go on for hours about them, but maybe that'll all be in a drop zone some other time. So congratulations to all the competitors, spinners on the green, making the event happen. Just awesome to be there and taking in the Arizona weather, even though it was just 55. You heard zero complaints out of me for the weekend. Yeah, another Shelly Sharp in the books, and thanks for having us out there. All right, well, let's close out the regular show. I said we already have a headliner for our after show, and we'll talk about what she's got going on, along with all other things related to disc golf, or not. That's all part of the after show. We'll have a giveaway. We know that's your favorite part, where we give away free stuff. Looking forward to doing that as well. So this has been episode 439. We have to thank, again, our champions in Andrew Marwede, along with Jennifer Allen. We appreciate you guys for joining us. Looking forward to an incredible 2023 and what you guys are going to do in this touring season. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you in the after show. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 439's After Show. It's the After Show, folks. We're here. We're ready for it. Are you, is the question.
Am I personally ready?
Are you ready?
I mean, I've been more ready. I've been way less ready.
I don't think you're ready for this jelly.
Definitely am not ready for that jelly.
No. All right. Well, welcome in, everyone. This is, of course, the SmashBoxxTV After Show. How the world are we on 439 episodes?
I ask myself that every episode, Terry. How are we doing it to 440?
Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. But tonight, we're gonna actually have a little bit more structure,
Quality and consistency. That's my answer,
Yeah,
Terry.
yeah, because that's what we provide. We're gonna have a headliner here in just a few moments. Krissie Fountain's gonna be joining us, and then after we get some great details and information from her, then then it'll really go off the rails into anything and everything, and we'll take it from there. So I guess without further ado, we're gonna get right to her. Krissie Fountain.
Hey guys, hi.
How you doing?
I'm great. I'm so good. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Of course, we as much as I just ranted earlier about trying to get coverage as much as we could, we of course are always supporting the FPO division, supporting women's disc golf whenever we can, hosting symposiums and doing whatever we can. But you're doing some big stuff down there in Texas, and we're here to learn more about it. So give us the scoop.
Yeah, so this is the first year of the Wildflower Disc Golf Tour. This is a all-women's tour hosted by women for women that is consisting of 8 PDGA sanctioned events currently on the schedule, and we have 3 kind of auxiliary events. We have a juniors event, a mixed doubles event, and then a long-standing unsanctioned women's event that are kind of, part of the tour as well. On the schedule this year, we have 5 B/C tiers. There'll be Pro B and C tiers, 2 full B tiers, and one of the only women's only A tiers in the entire country. I think when I was looking through A tiers earlier, I saw maybe 1 other women's only. So it's a really, really huge opportunity for us to have one of the only women's only A tiers in the country.
First of all, thank you for joining us. And then secondly to that, we often have said, especially Johnny and I have said for so many years, hey, whatever we've been trying as a male-dominated sport with 93% of the population being male that play, whatever we've been trying doesn't appear to be working very well in terms of getting more women to participate. So what are you guys doing? And you just said all women, for women, by women. What are you guys doing to get this thing off the ground? What have you found in some of your early successes?
Well, so this all kind of started, we ran WGE in 2021, we being myself, Stephanie Vincent, and Renee Farr, and we had 72 women at our women's global event. It sold out, and it was an incredible event. We worked really well together. So then in 2022 we said, hey, let's do this again, let's run our own tournament. So we ran the WTF Open. WTF is Women Throwing Frisbees. That's the local Central Texas women's disc golf club. The WTF Open, we ran that in April, and again we had 72 women and we filled, and it just kind of opened our eyes to the women are out there. If there are tournaments that are tailored to women and they know that they are getting the platform, they're getting the stage, they're going to show up. And so we kind of, said, let's make this a tour. There's always 1 or 2, good women's only events in Texas to look forward to, but why can't there be 8? Why can't there be 10 or 12? What's stopping us? So, we did some brainstorming and we came up with the concept of the Wildflower Disc Golf Tour. And, I think that women show up to these tournaments because it's about them, at a lot of tournaments where there's 80% men and 20% women, it's not really about them. And at these tournaments, we give them the platform to showcase the events. We had our first event this past weekend. It was called the Prickly Pear Classic. We have named all of our events after different wildflowers. So we have the Bluebonnet Women's Open, the Primrose Classic, the Sunflower Showcase. So this past weekend was the Prickly Pear Classic. It was a B tier in Austin, Texas, and we had 106 women come out for the event.
Dang.
Yeah.
For your tour opener.
For our tour open, and it was a B tier, and you guys know the PDGA rule that all competitors have to be PDGA current in order to compete, right? Which a lot of times is a barrier to entry for women. They want to compete, but they don't really want to compete, enough times a year to make it worth getting that PDGA membership. So the fact that we opened with a B tier and we had 106 women competing, it was just really good affirmation that what we're doing is going to work and that what we're doing is important for the sport. We had 18 FPO, which is an incredible number for a B tier. And it was just incredible weekend.
Well, and I was about to ask where I could just maybe look it up. You said 106 people, 106 women. And I was going to say, how many divisions did that span? 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere about almost 10 divisions or so?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct.
And is that going to be, as part of the tour, are those set divisions that, people are essentially filling out, or is it going to be able to vary by event to event? Like, is there a structure to the tour points, so to speak, if there's tour points?
Yeah, so all of the same divisions will be offered at each event. We did offer FP40 at this event, but we didn't have any women sign up for that specific division. We had a few who qualified, but I think they were more interested in playing in the FPO division and going for that bigger purse. We had Des Redding compete, who is definitely eligible for FP40. And
you mean to say barely? She's barely eligible.
Barely. There we go. That's much better. But she got second place. She kicked butt. She did really, really well out there. And so there is a point system in place. There are going to be overall tour winners at the end of the year. So we are really trying to motivate all of these women to come back to our events and to play all of the events. On the schedule, we have 2 in Houston, 2 in San Antonio, 3 in the Austin area, and then the last one will be kind of central between all of those divisions in a town called Welder, Texas, where they have the Ranch Disc Golf Club, which is a newer course.
Wow. And also, I got to get this in there, not only assistant tournament directing, but also cashing in the event is yourself.
Yes.
So
she's running events so she can cash. Yeah. I like it. That's a great plan.
I mean, clearly there's some distractions and your mind probably wasn't focused exclusively on playing your best golf, but you played good enough golf to get into the cash. That's got to feel good.
I also had COVID the week before.
Okay.
Not really a well-known fact that I've kind of thrown out there. But I didn't get any practice rounds in the week before the event because I was focusing on getting my body healthy, aside from some backyard putting sessions. So, it was a course that I knew that I was familiar with. So I said, I know the shots. I know what I need to do. I was, even on Friday, I was still on the fence of whether I was going to play or not. And then I woke up Saturday morning and I felt like, okay, none of this is in my system anymore. I feel like a normal human being again. So let's do this.
Wow, nice. So, and it's great because I'm recognizing so many of the names, especially in your FPO division. Jill, who I first met at the Phoenix Ladies Open a couple years ago, who was very impressive. I know she moved from Arizona over to Texas. Of course, everyone knows Des. Arya Castrita, also I see down the list.
Rookie of the Year.
Yep, her sister Melody out there. Stephanie Vincent, who I know is a staple in the Texas disc golf scene, and then some. So awesome to see. Now, is there any commonality or consistency in terms of the events structure? Meaning, are they always going to be a single day event, or will some play? Well, if there's an A tier, that's going to play over multiple days. But what was that conversation like in terms of if you guys were worried about any kind of theme or event consistency, or does that not matter?
No, it's a valid question. The way that we're structuring this is, we have brought in some very reputable tournament directors in the Houston and the San Antonio areas to help us run these events. And the way that we have it structured right now is those tournaments that we're outsourcing to different TDs are going to be one day. And those are the ones that are going to be Pro B and C tiers. Okay. We were going to make them all C tiers to kind of eliminate that barrier to entry of being PDGA current. However, the majority of them have come to us and said, hey, we have clubs backing us who have offered to put up the $750 added cash. So can we make ours a B tier? And the best solution that we landed on was I think a pro B tier, AMC tier is an amazing solution because the $750 cash is what's going to attract the pros to our event, right? They're going to come where the money is. And then offering it as an AMC tier, we still won't have to worry about that barrier to entry, right? And we have worked it out, and we've got enough support from our sponsors and from our local clubs to where the players packs and the payout value for the AMs is still going to be equivalent to a B tier, even though on paper it's a C tier. And so I think it's a wonderful solution to, attract pros to our events and to also, make it really open for all women who are just starting to play in tournaments or who are seasoned amateurs.
All right. Go ahead.
It sounds like she has her stuff together.
Elaborate on that, the B tiers that we're running, so the one we ran this past weekend, and then the finale in November, the WTF Open, those are going to be 2-day events that we kind of wanted to keep. We wanted them to be ran internally. So within our Wildflower administrative team, those are our events plus the A tier. So, 3 days for the A tier, 2 days for the B tiers, and then 1 day for the C tiers is the structure.
Okay. What I was going to say is this sounds great and all, but what haven't you thought of? I mean, come on. Do you guys have it all put together already? What haven't you thought of?
Nothing.
Wow,
my mother-in-law texted me afterwards because we have a company called Meridian Hive who's sponsoring us, and they make wonderful meads. They're so good, and they're donating cases of meads to basically after each event. And she texted me and she said, "Just a suggestion: you should make a sign that's laminated that says these are adult beverages for people over 21 to enjoy after the event." So I guess we didn't think about that.
Okay, yeah.
Signage.
There are a few rules in Texas, I've heard. So and 21 is legal drinking age still, right? There, right?
Yes, that is correct. Okay. 21. Yes. No, we have a fantastic team. Renee Farr is an extremely seasoned TD. She has a lot of events under her belt. Stephanie Vincent has been on the scene for such a long time. She knows what makes a good women's event, as does Des. When we put all four of our heads together, there's hardly anything that we leave unturned. We also have a ton of support from Mint Discs. Zach Jansen runs the Heart of Texas tour, the Hot Tour, and he's kind of the one who helped us get this off the ground as far as like our initial branding and kind of some initial funding too. And with his experience running tournaments as well, we've just had a really amazing team and a really amazing support system that's not going to allow us to fail. I mean, if we were going to fail, we would have to try to fail.
That's good. Well, and this weekend, I think, and she even said she felt a little uncomfortable, but Des was driving, I think, to the event maybe, and was doing a little singing as she was pulling into it for one of her favorite songs from when she was a kid. And so that just got me thinking about her being involved, her playing in the event, of course, taking second, we see, but just like you said, the background, the experience that she has had, her personally, I mean, just was such an asset. And then to know that when you put an entire collection of these enthusiasts together, it should make for, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. So
absolutely. Stephanie Vincent and I played in a tournament a few weeks ago, and one of the first questions whenever we were at hole one and we were kind of getting the briefing of how the day was going to go, kind of the OB rules, they said, "Do you have any questions?" And the first thing we asked was, "Did you end up putting a porta potty, on the other side of this course?" It's something that we've asked year in and year out. I've been playing this event for the past 5 years, and the answer was no. And it was like, guys, like, this isn't anything new. We ask for this every single year. Like, why can't you accommodate this? And so those are the kind of things that we're taking really, really seriously. Those are the things that make a difference for a women's event. Not taking any shortcuts on stuff like that.
Yeah, and I guess my follow-up to that would be what where do you guys need help in terms of either day of or anything else prepping into these events? Is there a volunteer pool or chart or list or communication that people should be able to reach out to you if you guys need other assistance?
Yeah, so the way that we handled it for the Prickly Pear Classic is we actually made a general registration through Disc Golf Scene specifically for volunteers. And so they were able to go and register as a volunteer for a $0 fee, obviously. And in that kind of registration area, they were able to put what jobs they preferred. Do you prefer spotting? Do you prefer running water? Making sure that the snack stations are filled up. So we really wanted to make sure that the volunteers were doing what they wanted to do. And we opened up 20 volunteer spots was how we kind of capped it, I guess. But we probably had close to 40 people show up both days to help us out. It was really incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah. What's the most sought after volunteer job that people were like, feels like it's sold out right away?
Spotting.
Spotting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of the most straightforward, and I think people come into it and our spotters were getting into it, I mean,
nice.
It was really incredible. And helping with check-in, I think a lot of our volunteers wanted to do that. Like, I'll help players, pick out their discs for their players packs. I know a lot about the discs, and so I can help, and that kind of stuff. But really, they just were so, whatever you guys want us to do, we'll do it. No questions asked at all.
And then speaking of wearing different hats and taking on different roles, it feels as if you've kind of made that an initiative of your own in saying that you're not as concerned about your play as you are being a promoter. Is that kind of where you feel like, I don't know, is that more satisfying for you, or where do you stand with your playing career?
Oh man, that's such a hard question. So I transitioned to full-time disc golf back in May. I worked in commercial construction for 8 years, and I hung that hat up in May. And I started by, working a few hours at the mid-disc warehouse. And then it came to me one day like, hey, I want to run a Flex Start C tier every Friday. I'm going to call it Fuego Friday. And it just became its own thing. It became a brand. I have this following. I get, between 70 to 90 players come out to this Flex Start every week. And it opened up a whole new side of disc golf to me that I didn't even really know about before. I want to be a jack of all trades. I want to be a good player, but I also be quality events, and I want to be involved in growing work for women. I know that it's hard to do it all. But now that I have invested my life into disc golf, I'm determined to make it work. I'm signed up for the first 6 Disc Golf Pro Tour events this year. So, we'll see how it goes.
Wow. And that's awesome. Of course, I think back to the time we first met. That was in Jonesboro. You had put together the hottest round, or one of the hottest rounds during the opening round of Jonesboro. And just as you were explaining, your life, your world was in a different state at that point. And so here we are a few years later, the fact that you've made disc golf a career, and even in starting that to where it's slowly transitioned into a tangent of that original idea. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. One of the first big projects that I took on when I started working full-time with Mint is submitting a bid to run U.S. Women's. Zach came to me one day and said, hey, what do you think about submitting a bid to run a major? And I said, let's do it. Let's dive headfirst into it. And we spent hours and hours and hours putting together that bid. We poured our hearts and souls into it. One of the biggest kind of undertakings that we did was we reached out to all of the local businesses and clubs and individuals who have an impact in our disc golf community and asked for a letter of support. We had a template that we shot over to them and said, hey, here's some basic wording if you would like to use this. If not, you can change it however you want. But basically, it's just saying, hey, we know Zach, we know Krissie, we know that they're going to do whatever it takes to put on a good event. We are in complete support of having U.S. Women's here in 2024. And I think we ended up turning in upwards of 60 to 70 letters with our U.S. Women's bid.
Amazing.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And
we won. We won. So I'm really, really stoked to announce that, U.S. Women's is going to be coming to Round Rock, Texas in 2024. So we have our work cut out for us, because we're also going to try to keep expanding the Wildflower Tour. That's kind of my whole life right now, is how do I make this tour bigger? How do I reach more women? How do we keep growing this thing? Oh yeah. And then let's run a major next year.
Yeah.
We'll throw that in there.
Sprinkle that on top. So speaking to your, what you're planning on doing in terms of playing, in pro tour events and the commitments you have from the professional side of playing, how much was taken into consideration as you guys were building your schedule out in terms of where other pro women might play, or where you might be able to attract a few, or if you're not at all concerned about what's happening, we'll say on the national level, while you guys are hosting this, somewhat more regional tour series, what considerations were in place?
I think the main consideration that we took into place was scheduling the A tier. Obviously, we want to get as many big names as possible. And our A tier is essentially the week before the West Coast swing starts, before everybody goes out to California for the OTB Open. So we are hoping that, some of the big names, some of the big women will come and play on our A tier before they head out to California. Would be ideal. Other than that, it wasn't really a huge concern. We had, we knew that we had 2 sold out events in 2021 and 2022, and that filling these kind of local, more regional events was a really strong possibility. So definitely the A tier was our biggest concern and when we were going to schedule that. Kodo is a historic tournament. It's 32 years running. So the way that we did it this year is it's split between a men's weekend and a women's weekend. So the women's weekend is that May 5th through 7th, that first weekend in May, and then the men's will be the 19th through the 21st, I think, or the 17th through the 19th, somewhere in that range, 2 weekends after.
Okay. Yeah, it's I think that's just it. I think about Wisconsin, for instance. We have a 30-year tour that takes place, and some events are more concerned about, can we attract a few of the big names when they're in the area. Silver Cup has been one of those events that Jim Van Lannen has put on, that's been on the Silver Series and so forth. But then other events are like, no, we run a really great regional event, and we're not as concerned about having some of the touring pros come by. So I think people just have to be cognizant of what their mission is and what their objectives are if they're trying to appease to a national audience and national players, or
more local,
or they want to keep it a little bit more local. Is there I know it's kind of a daunting question, but is there a magic number or cap or goal of events, quantity of events that you see, for a tour year?
52.
I said daunting. Not crazy.
No, I don't know. I don't know if there's really a specific goal in mind. We thought that 8 was a good number for the first year. We wanted to have enough that we could, to where women could play enough events to feel like, oh, I'm a part of this tour. I played all these events this year, and that we could manage, right? But we didn't want to have so many that we get too overwhelmed. There's definitely a possibility of us adding maybe another event or 2 this year in some locations that we haven't really tapped into yet. But we're treading very lightly with that because we really don't want to get in over our heads this first year. But really, our goal for this tour, we would love to expand outside of Texas. We would love for there to be a Wildflower Tour / North Carolina, a Wildflower Tour / Wisconsin, wherever we know that there's a really strong population of female disc golfers, we'd love to expand this to different states. And there's so many ways that you can structure that where each region has their own point system. That way, women don't feel like they have to travel out of state to, still get points. But eventually for us to just be able to offer support to TDs in other states to encourage them to kind of start up the same thing that we're doing, because the more women's only events that we can get in the sport, the better. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think of, the Midwest, we have a women's Midwest tour that takes place that utilizes events in Indiana and Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and so forth. And then of course we see series that are built, exclusively within a state as well. I spoke earlier of Christine King, KK. And the Poppy series and things that they've been doing. And I know Oregon has their, an entire series very specific to women's series. What would you say is the number one thing you've learned or seen or experienced or heard about that has been successful with some of the other women's only events or women's only series even? Has there been any really big, note that was jotted down or taken to heart?
Really, just the fact that all of these series are ran by women. You know,
Yeah.
you don't see any of these other series. You don't ever really see, you know, a random Joe who's on the street who's like, hey, I'm going to put together 8 events for women. You know, it's always women who are doing this, and it's always women who are taking the initiative to put on these events for other women. And so that's kind of where the inspiration came from, you know, seeing these other successful tours and these other successful series, and knowing that so far there's nothing like that in Texas, or really, you know, in surrounding states.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I think of just the overall series, like you mentioned earlier, the hot series and all of the series that take place, but to have them focused exclusively on the FPO, or I keep saying FPO, on women's divisions, all women's divisions, I think it's just incredible. And it also speaks to the viability and the growth of our sport in general. The fact that we can, you know, when you have 120 women show up, I mean, that had to be heartbreaking last year when you have 2 events where you have a cap of 72 and you probably had to turn away a couple of women. I mean, who would have ever guessed, right, that you'd have to turn away women competitors at an event?
Yeah, we're probably going to face some of that with the Pro B AMC tiers that we're going to be running. But I think it's also nice to create that sense of urgency. I think that when COVID came around, you saw this massive surge in tournament registrations, where as soon as registration would open, within like 20 minutes, all of these tournaments would be filled, right? Now that I don't want to say the sport is starting to plateau by any means, because it's still growing at a phenomenal rate. But it doesn't seem like people are as quick, you know, to go in and register for tournaments. And there seems to just be a little bit more time to get registered for these events. But we want to keep that sense of urgency. You know, we want to say, hey, we've created something amazing that's in high demand. Be ready for registration as soon as it opens, and register. So that's kind of our goal.
You mentioned the beverages, and I believe you've indicated or mentioned Mint as well. Is there any other companies or supporters or sponsors that are kind of globally supporting the entire series, or in its entirety?
One of the very, very first companies to reach out when they saw about Wildflower Disc Golf Tour, about kind of what we had going on here in Texas, was T-Box Socks.
Oh, nice.
And Chris reached out to me and he was like, I don't care what it takes. I love what you guys are doing. This is amazing. This is necessary. We need this in the sport. We are here to help however we can. So he's donating 20 pairs of socks per event. So that's like the 160 pairs of socks over the entire year. And he's basically taking our logo and turning them into these socks, and they're so cute. I wish I had a pair with me right now. But you know, we gave one to each of the division winners this past weekend, and then the rest of them we split between selling and raffle items, and those socks were sold out within 2 hours on Saturday morning.
Nice.
I mean, it was incredible. So they've been really, really helpful. We have 3C Discs, who's another local manufacturer here in Texas. They were very quick to hop on board too. We have Planet K. I don't know if you guys have heard about Planet K, but they're a really renowned kind of smoke / toy / disc golf, like not that kind of toys, but just like kind of like random gift shop kind of stuff. And they sell Innova discs in all of their stores in Austin. And Mint Discs actually became only the second manufacturer to be carried in their stores.
Awesome.
So they were really quick to jump on board as well. And yeah, I mean, it's been incredible, the amount of support. We've tried reaching out to a few other, you know, bigger names, non-disc golf companies. We've gotten kind of mixed feedback. Yeah, we're interested, but this is also your first year. You know, maybe if you guys have a good first successful year and prove yourself, we'll be interested next year, which is totally understandable. You know, it's totally fine. We're new, we're establishing ourselves. But that's why we appreciate the heck out of all the sponsors who have really gone out on a limb and put their faith in us and in what we're doing.
Yeah, it's like you said, with the people, the resources, the years of experience, it sounds you guys have so many of your bases covered, and you're off in the right direction. Is there an overarching goal? And I know that's kind of
She already told you 52 weeks.
Yeah, no. I don't mean goal necessarily of events, but do you feel like, I guess I could reword that and say, what would success look like at the end of the year for you guys?
Success at the end of the year for us is, it's so hard to quantify because it would be so easy for me to say success is a full event at every event. Success comes with an X amount of women registered, but really, success is just knowing that we put ourselves out there and we provided something unique for the Texas disc golfers, and something that they really found value in, and that they're going to share, and that they're going to come back to, and they're going to be excited for next year. We have really, really big, huge, overarching goals. I kind of feel like Jen talking about Zuka, right? Like, I don't know if I can really say all of them, but we do. We have big plans and big aspirations, and I think that the work that we have put into this year and getting it off the ground, and the fact that we have U.S. Women's next year, we just have really good momentum to make this thing huge, to make this really big.
I'm excited to then see how it all plays out. I have full faith in you guys. What was I going to ask you now? I apologize.
Can you hand me that thing on the wall of our pins? So I'm going to show you guys something. Okay. One of the things that we did for this year is we got pins, like those enamel pins that people put on their bags, or and we have one for each event, and they're always going to be part of the players packs. And so the only way to collect these pins is to come to the tournaments, right? So I made this kind of like felt little sheet that kind of displays some of our pins, and so this was our Prickly Pear Classic. This is the first one that all of the women were able to collect with their players pack, and at each event they're going to collect another one. And so we kind of wanted there to be more goals of playing all of the events than just like, hey, I'm trying to get points. We're trying to, like, you can only get these in the players packs. And so we want players to come just so that they can get this little collectible item. We're just trying to think of small things like that to really keep women engaged and to keep them coming back to our events.
Wow. And that's a perfect answer, or a perfect remark to what I was going to ask, which is, where are you guys finding success in getting women onto the course? And I think, like, it's great you're going to have this tour and you're going to, get all this competitive, experience going, but just getting women onto the course, like, what's been successful in getting the numbers to exist in the first place? That was what my question was going to be.
Well, I think we're really lucky that Texas in general has an incredible women's scene.
Okay.
I think that we're incredibly lucky to have names like Des Redding and Stephanie Vincent backing us. I think that gives us a ton of merit to what we're doing. And I think that the events that we put on in the past couple of years were a really good foundation to show women, we're going to take care of you guys. We're going to give you guys a good event. We post teasers on our Instagram of, hey, this is what the players pack is going to be, or hey, this is the 10 hours that we just spent at the Met Center this weekend, the week before the event, marking all of the OB lines. Just being really transparent in all of the effort that we're putting in, I think, is helping us kind of get that return, and people saying, they're doing everything that they can to take care of us. They're thinking of every single detail. Like, we're going to be at that event.
Okay.
Details. The details matter.
Details.
They do. And that's what I was just going to say is, like, is it women bringing out other women? Is it there's just an influx of girlfriends and wives that have taken to it because there's a great disc golf scene in general? And then, like, those are all the types of things I think of. How do we just get more women to the course? Some of them convert to league members, to PDGA members, to tournament players, and some don't. But just the sheer number and the pool of women that are there and available to even make up a series, I think it's incredible. I think that in itself is a success, because oftentimes we go to other states and they're like, yeah, there's like 9 women that visit this park all month, and that's it. So clearly you guys have a good pool of people.
If you go and you look at a co-ed event, an event being a sanctioned event where there's men and women's division offered in Texas, you're not going to find the numbers that we had at our event. Like I can tell you, I have an A tier coming up right now, and there's 7 FPO players signed up. We had 18 this past weekend.
Sure.
Why aren't there 18 women at this A tier that's coming up? Like what is the difference? I really think that having all women's events just creates a safe space. It creates a platform. It creates camaraderie that women don't get at other tournaments. And I think that that's a big part of how we're drawing all of these women out to these events. I saw so many comments on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to be back for all of them, and I'm going to bring a friend next time, And so I think that has a lot to do with it. I really, really do. I don't know why there is 7 women at an A tier with $3,000 of added cash. And there's 18 at a B tier with $750 added cash. Like there's so many reasons that go into that it's just hard to kind of narrow it down to one reason. But I think it's just like women know that it's about them at these events. And so they're more inclined to come out and to be a part of it and to support what we have going on here.
I think you're right, because for the longest time, like it or not, the FPO field has always felt like an afterthought, whether it was course design, whether it's added cash. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it was because there was only 2 or 3 or 1 woman FPO player, or even, maybe 3 or 4 total women in the entire field, that it, I hate to say it like that, but it could be treated like an afterthought. Unfortunately, there are times I know Terry has gotten trophies and there's been nobody to take the trophy. And it's and so when we can show, or when you can show the dedication to an entire event dedicated to women, I think that draws a lot of women out, that they know that this is an event for them, regardless of skill level. But obviously the competition is there, as opposed to being an afterthought or whatnot. And I do believe that's changing in a lot of bigger events like your A tiers. I think we're going to, because of the wildflowers and things of that nature, we're going to see larger women's fields start to show up when you can show that, no, we do care about you. Like you said, even things like the porta potties. Like, I mean, has there, I don't know what A tier we're talking about, and I don't want to speculate, but has there been bad history with that particular A tier in the past, or ones like it, someone that runs it, and that all feeds into a lot of this stuff. So it's amazing what you guys are doing down there.
Yeah, thank you. There's things that I think that tournament directors can do to attract more women. One thing that we face a lot is, okay, your A pool is MPO, FPO, MP40, and MA1, right? Like that's your A pool. What does that mean for the one women's division that's in that pool? That means that we're getting rated against MPO players, MP40 players, and MA1 players. Every single event, that's a common denominator. Being on the TD side of things, I know how much effort it takes for a tournament director to change one par or change one hole where we might play the short box instead of the long box, which essentially would give us our own pool and allow us to be rated against each other and not against all of these men. It's not a big ask. It's not a big ask. And if women know that tournament directors are doing those kind of things for them, I think they'll be a lot more likely to come to these events. And by these events, I mean like co-ed events, right? Events where you're offering men's divisions and women's divisions. It's feedback that you can submit event feedback at the end of every event that you play in, right? Almost every single event that I play in, that's always my feedback. Make the FPO their own pool so that we can be rated against each other, because we don't want to be rated against a bunch of 1,000 rated disc golfers. Like, if there's a course that's a par 3 course, but those par 3s are 380 to 400 feet, for the majority, especially of local FPO players, that's a drive, an upshot, and a putt. And for MPO players, that's more potentially a park job and a birdie, right? And so our scores don't reflect, and our ratings don't reflect the kind of effort that we're putting in and the kind of rounds that we're putting together. So I think that there are other things that tournament directors can do besides offering porta potties to get women to their events, And I don't know if that is just not being relayed to them. They might not even know. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, right? But there's things that can be done to get more women to your events. And I just had a phone call with a guy who was running to run an event today, and he said, "What can I do to get more women at my event?" And that was the first piece of advice I gave him. I said, make sure that the women are rated against each other and not against your pro and your MP40 guys. It's really important.
Yeah, and some of the challenge even within that can be, do you have enough women to make sure that there's enough propagators so that there is so they get a rating versus not.
Yep.
So there's a little bit of buildup where you need the a minimum quantity of women or people that fit that criteria to then get their own rating. And it's funny because as you're saying all that, I'm just reflecting on the event, one of the few events that I'm down to running in November, and quite honestly, I mean, I helped design the course, but I look at it and I think the course itself, just purely by its design from 10 years ago, it's not a great course for women's play, just based on purely on average skill level for women competitors. It's not. It's in fact probably got to be a relatively boring or terrible course. And so if women are staying clear of my event for that being one reason, A, I understand it, and B, I do think to myself, man, is there an easier practical way for me to change that? If I can't go install new tees or new pins,
Right.
What's the most practical way to change that? But yeah, it's there are so many different factors, as you're saying. Porta potties, things of that nature. Some of those basics are some of the low-hanging fruit, some of the easy, very obtainable things, and then there might be some deeper, more challenging hurdles to overcome. But at the end of the day, I think one of the biggest is what you've touched on, which is to have women create that environment. I feel it seems to be a large part of its success, of just the overall feeling and perception of being at this event that's created by women for women. I think that helps, and it's too bad we have to, that's such a key component. But the fact is, somebody like yourself is recognizing it, and you're going all in on it, and I think that's awesome. So.
I will say that we do have an advantage when we're running a tournament for women. Like for the Prickly Pear Classic, we had 3 different layouts. The FPO and the FA1 and the FP40s. We were kind of in our own pool, and so we played. It was a mixture of longs and shorts at this specific course. And then, the B pool, your FA2, your FA3 divisions, they played kind of just like a shorter layout than that. They played more from the short tees, but then we were able to put the novice and the juniors divisions in even their own pool. And, we were able to make shorter tee pads for them too. And I think that having that perspective, like as a woman and knowing that is something that can add a lot of value to the tournament is really important. And I'm not saying that like the rating system is perfect, because everybody knows the rating system is not perfect. But the first day, the way that the FPO finished, Aria was the highest rated player in our division, and she had an incredible round, but it rated at her rating because she was like the highest, and she was the highest rated. And so after the first day, it was like, okay, Aria was in first, and then this person with the second highest rating was in second, and the person with the third highest rating was in third. And so everybody really shot like what their rating was. And so, sometimes there's something we can do to kind of like fix the ratings. That's not really what we're trying to do. But then the second day, we had 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts that we didn't face before. And we did some math after the event, and on average, the course played 4 strokes harder than it did the day before. The +1 that I shot on Saturday was rated 904, and on Sunday the +1 was rated 950. So, there's so much variables in the rating system and how it can be affected. And so I'm not saying that, making our own pool is like the end all be all answer to how you can get more women to your event, but it at least shows us that it's something that you're thinking about and that you're being considerate of.
Makes perfect sense. Wow. So normally we obviously, tell people to shout out sponsors and such, which we want to welcome you to do. But in addition to that, where are some ways that people can support you guys, the tour, albeit in an individual event or the entire tour? Like, what are some of the types of things that you guys would be looking for?
Money.
Okay. Good night.
Sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
I'm kidding.
I mean, you'll take money, but yeah.
Right. No. We any kind of support that we can get is phenomenal. We have big raffles that we put on. So any kind of merch that anybody would want to donate, we're obviously going to be open to that. Our goal as the Wildflower admin is to provide as much support to the TDs who are not necessarily part of our admin team. Okay, we're going to cover your sanctioning fee. We're going to pay $100 towards whatever your permit fee is for the course that you're reserving. So, those are ways that we're trying to help the other events. And so, we're not just saying like, hey, we need money because we want to run our own big events. We're trying to help our smaller events be extremely successful too. But just like recognition, I have reached out to several different disc golf podcasts, kind of gave the same pitch that I sent you today. Like, hey, I know this is really random and this kind of feels like a cold call, but my name is Krissie and I'm starting this tour. Like, we're starting this tour and we have all these events. Like, please let me come on your podcast so that I can talk about what we're doing, because we have really good intentions and what we're doing is really important for the sport of disc golf. And you're the first person to message me back and say, let's do it. And, so just spreading the word, just sharing our Instagram posts, sharing our Facebook posts, like that in itself is just insurmountable support to us. The more we can get known and the more that people recognize what we're doing, the better. So it's as easy as that to support us.
Awesome. Well, and they could give you money.
And money.
Yeah, and they can give us money. We're never going to say no to money.
Write a check, people. All right,
definitely.
Krissie. Well, of course, as we're here in the beginning of the year and you already have, one event in the books, and we're excited. Your excitement and enthusiasm is, of course, infectious, as I'm sure you've been told before, and we wish you nothing but the best. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go tonight?
I'll see you guys in the Texas Swing.
All right.
And and thank you for having me on tonight. It's, things like this go a really, really long way for us. So just thank you very, very much.
You are absolutely welcome. We are glad to be here to provide the platform that we can in our ways. And of course, it's so much. There's so much value in us truly knowing more about what you're doing. So then when we do have the questions of who's doing what and where, we can speak somewhat intelligently of it. Well, we try to. And
I would recommend.
I love it.
Yeah, our website is really easy. It's www.wfdgt Wildflower Disc Golf Tour, wfdgt.com. And that has all of our events listed out. I do want to mention really quick. I know this is getting a little bit long-winded.
There's no such thing on SmashBoxx.
You've watched our show, I'm sure. Don't worry about it.
We don't know what that means.
Okay, good. I'm fitting right in. That's perfect. A couple of really good opportunities that we've had this year. We were able to partner with the NADGT, and we are offering invitations to qualifier spots for the winners in FA1, FA2, FA3, and all the junior divisions. So the winners in those divisions from each event will automatically get an invite to compete at the NADGT Nationals in Austin in October. So that is a really cool opportunity. At the beginning of the year, we were also able to partner with the PDGA and do a membership grant program where we took applications and we were able to award 20 PDGA memberships to women.
Nice.
And we had over 50 applicants, which was really, really incredible. And, we spent a few days thumbing through the applications, and it was really, really hard to decide who to pick because everybody deserves it. But we were able to award 20 new PDGA memberships this year.
Wow.
And I think that like 16 of those were at the Prickly Pear Classic this past weekend. So, we've had some really good connections that have allowed us to do some really impactful things in our first month of this tour being in existence.
That's incredible. And as she just said, WFDGT.com. I'm out on the site looking at it right now. Looks nice and colorful. And of course, right in front of you is all the event dates. You can't miss them. As soon as you pull it up on the website, they're right there. April 15th listed as the next event, the Blue Bonnet Women's Open. And they have all the registration info out there along with all the different events. Almost, I was going to say roughly one per month, 2 in May, but then almost 1 per month after that. So nice and spaced out. And you guys should make sure you check it out. WFDGT.com. Krissie,
we're taking off July and August because July and August in Texas is crazy. Like nobody wants to mess around.
Does it get warm there? Or?
Just a little bit.
We were there for 2002 Worlds in Houston. That was
it's
enough.
brutal.
105, 110 degree heat.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
intense.
that one. I'm taking that one.
We took a gamble within a January event because January can be like 80 degrees and sunny in Texas, or it can be
30.
6 degrees and 5 inches of snow. Like you just never know. So the disc golf weather gods were kind to us this past weekend. It was amazing. And, we're stoked for the rest of the events for the year.
Well, that is just a sign of a great year to come, and we wish you guys nothing but the best, to all of the TDs, to all of the sponsors, to your core group of admins, and all the hard work that we know you guys are going to put in. We love it, and we wish you the best of luck here in the 2023 season. And we know in 2 or 4 or 10 years we're going to be talking about how this is the biggest women's tour in the country, and we wish nothing but the best for you guys.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great night. See ya.
Krissie.
All right. Bye-bye.
You too. Good night.
Sounds like she's got her stuff together.
I was just going to say,
I mean,
that's what it looks like when you think things out and you do great work.
Plan and
oh my gosh. Stupid overachievers. I tell you.
They make us all look bad.
I know.
I'm glad she just... No, here's what I'm glad. I'm glad she doesn't do a podcast because she'd crush ours.
Nonetheless, hopefully you guys got tons of great information. If you're anywhere in the Texas area, clearly there's some events that it sounds like you need to be hitting up.
It's truly what it sounds
all listed right there for the Wildflower Disc Golf Tour, which states the Wildflower Disc Golf Tour is focused on fostering a healthy and an active women's disc golf tour in the state of Texas. By working with impactful female leaders from various regions across the state, we will create memorable events on and off the course, culminating each year with the WTF Open as the tour championship.
Love the name.
That women throwing frisbees event has been around for quite a few years. It's they've done a great job with their branding, because it's impossible not to look at that and chuckle a little bit. But to know that event's been around for a while and clearly has some branding and naming power behind it. So congratulations.
Stanman says everyone and their brother are getting disc golf tours. Yeah, that's what we're seeing from an exploding sport right now. Everybody wants to try to get in on a quote unquote a ground level to start a tour, whether it's a Masters tour or a women's tour, or a junior tour, your local state tour, a Midwest tour. I mean, there's ample opportunities to play and participate and volunteer and help.
Yeah, and that again speaks to just the unlimited potential for whatever suits your fancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a specific motive or drive or initiative or business plan or idea or whatever the case might be, there's a market for it more now than ever before. Mm-hmm. And that can speak to catering to these individual groups and divisions. I mean, if you're going to start some kind of car rental, long-term car rental company to our European competitors that need to travel around the country. I mean, there's a business plan for that. I'm going to go write it.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm not. But there is a business plan out there. There's a business idea that somebody could run with. So, again, thank you so much to Krissie. She says it was late. All good. We're glad you were here for the info.
If that's how she is when she's a little overtired and
yeah, I hate to see her jacked up and ready to go in the morning.
Yeah,
I wouldn't hate to see it. I'd love to see it actually. Yes, all good to go. All right. Ray says, I was in Dallas when there was a bad ice and snowstorm. It seems that their only defense was waiting for it to get warm out. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that some grid issues appeared a year or two ago as well. That said there can be some struggles.
Plows. They don't usually carry salt for roads.
There's plenty of states when they get an inch of snow, they're like, yeah, we're gonna call that. And I totally understandable. I think back to a couple years ago when the tour was kicking off, and I had to go to that place called Las Vegas, and I got a rental car, and I'm standing in line at the rental car, and it's snowing. In Las Vegas, it's snowing, and I just remember like chuckling to myself as I got to the car, thinking, yeah, there's not a snow brush. There shouldn't be a snow brush in this car. Clearly there wasn't, and nor should there have been, because that's, for some, that would be a once-in-a-lifetime experience being in Vegas as it's snowing on you, and we just happened to be out there for it at the time. So, yep, that's sometimes how it goes. All right. Other things. In disc golf news or not, do we have other things going on?
Disc golf news and self-promotion. Skip Ace opened up. Fantasy. I know. I got to it.
I teed you up for that one.
Yes, you did.
This is just like the sports betting at the local casino, right? Go on.
Just like that, Terry. Fantasy Disc Golf is open for people to register, create leagues, get your friends together. There are custom leagues you can pay $10 to play. It's a one-time charge per year. Everyone gets to play for free. It only costs to create the actual league. You can play for free if you want. There's survivor leagues. There are regular weekly re-pick'em leagues. We have all the options for you. And by we, I mean me.
Yeah, Johnny V.
So that we opened that up today so people can create leagues for the 2023 season. This year, some of our updates, we are adding different tours of all things. This was in the plans for quite a while.
Is there a fantasy league tour?
There might be a fantasy league tour. So if you want to play just DGPT Elite Series, if you want Elite Series, or if you just want silver events, or if you want them both, or if you want those in majors, the EPT only, the Euro Tour only, I made a kind of a combined European tour where I picked and choose different events for Europe, along with the European Open. With the help of somebody over in Europe to kind of get a general idea of which events would be better than others. Of course, that might all be thrown to the wind now with the announcement of the Pro Tour covering some of the events. Things might change with that, but I think I'm pretty well set in stone. So ultimately, if you're interested, you can reach out to me or just go to skipace.com, sign up, join one of the free leagues, and just check it out and play. We've got a lot of plans for the website in the next year or two. But right now, we're pretty well set for 2023. So please get out there and participate, have fun. And if anyone ever asks any questions, just let them know to go to Skip Ace. Because I hear that, like, man, I've got this spreadsheet. I'd love to kind of just play fantasy with somebody. And inevitably, thankfully, there's someone that's like, hey, you can do that over at Skip Ace. So, yep. Been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I usually don't know.
I got these videos, and I could get you into a great commercial spot that would exclusively support FPO coverage. So if you wanted to, if you wanted to jump on that, do you have commercials made up yet?
I had a commercial a few years ago. I haven't made one recently. It's funny because I should look at commercials like what you're doing and what maybe other people, or mostly you, because other people might charge me for Terry.
I'm going to charge you double.
And I will take that invoice. You send me the invoice, Terry. Once the commercial's played, we'll see. I'll see you in court. No. Because by the time the Pro Tour commercials come out, they're very expensive now, and I can't afford that. I used to be able to just slide him in there when I was literally cutting the commercials and no one could really stop me. But now they've got like checks and balances and stuff like that. It's lame.
Got time for that.
And they're too expensive for my tastes.
All right. Well, I want to, speaking of checks and balances, there was a tweet. The Twitters were active as I'm trying to still get more and more into them. But our friends over at Statmando made a tweet. I guess it was just yesterday. It feels like forever ago because my days are all starting to blend together after a long tournament weekend. And they had listed, if I just want to quote, it says most wins of FPO majors and elite events. And Paige Pierce leads that.
Handedly.
71, if you add up her FPO majors and elite events, that would be National Tours and Disc Golf Pro Tour event wins, 71 of them. The next closest, which I don't know that a lot of people would know and or even guess this if you're not of the of older play, is Valerie Jenkins, Doss, at 46.
She had a great run of National Tour events.
She and if you're new here,
she was dominant.
I was just gonna say, if you're new here, in the generation of, we'll say, Johnny and I, along with Jen Allen, who we were talking with earlier, who's in our similar PDGA sign-up ship, if that's the phrase. Generationally, what we've seen in terms of FPO dominance, we were coming in as Elaine King was very much a solid dominating player, but she was at that time was starting to be overtaken by JK, by Juliana Korver, who just turned 52 a few days ago. Happy birthday to her, to JK. Juliana, you always say pass the torch. Some say it's ripped from your hands in this case. But then very much went to Des Redding, who we were very honored to see her early beginnings
Wisconsin
as
tour.
she was playing here in Wisconsin on our Wisconsin tour, playing throughout the Midwest. Her and Jay, they took to touring life very quickly and had the pleasure of them playing some big events and being here in Wisconsin, getting to know them at the very early stages of their disc golfing careers. From Des, who seemed unstoppable, and she was for many years, who has put together 37 Elite Series and major wins. From Des, we then saw Valerie step in. And then Valerie, just like the previous few women, had seemed unstoppable. You would have put all your money on Val almost every single weekend. Unless you're one of these other few competitors, that's pretty much where you were placing your money. Understandably so, she has the second most Elite Series and majors combined at 46. So 46 of them, not 46 years of age. And of course, there's been solid competitors that have continued to be there. You think of within the scope of that, just that run of dominance we speak of, which is, early 2000s or roughly 2000 or late 90s into, the 2010 kind of time frame. Those are most of the women that we speak of. You had Sarah Cunningham get in there and pick up a Worlds win.
Sarah Hokum as well.
Sarah Hokum in 2012 got her win, her Worlds win. And then we also saw, in terms of a Worlds performance, in 2004, we saw, oh my gosh.
Come on.
I don't believe I'm drawing a blank, even though I'm looking. Brigitte Lagerholm. We saw Brigitte win in 2004. I'm thinking of her face, but couldn't spit out her name. So that's what we mostly saw in those years. And then the baton, in a slower fashion, then we saw transition over to Paige. Because Val really was right there every weekend.
It didn't feel like
it wasn't as abrupt.
Correct. It felt very abrupt with
some of the others.
With JK to Des, and then from Des to Val. I mean, even though there was, I would say, a good 2 to 3 years where Des and Val,
of course, there was always overlap.
Would go back and forth. And truly, I think Juliana would have had more wins if there were NTs.
Yeah.
I mean, she just
and
there
pro
was-
tours.
There
Yeah.
was really like a handful of national tours every year, maybe 6.
6 to 10, but those
And
didn't even
those-
start till
I know.
2001.
I saw even those. It was before like she was in the prime of her career at 2000 ish. Yeah, like 99 2000 ish, and then kind of slowly just faded away from the sport. Obviously, she's back, but it did feel very abrupt until Val and Paige Pierce came in, and obviously, we saw, what was it, 2017? Val got her last Worlds win.
2016.
2016. So I mean, you had, and Paige got her first Worlds win in 2010. 2011? Odd year. 2011. I always forget. It's like odd year, even year, odd year. 2011. So you had 5 years of those going back and forth with Kat in there as well.
Mhm.
It was a much slower handoff, and we've had, I mean, the Paige Pierce era is still going. So figure 2010, we're in, what year are we? 2023?
Yep.
13 years of Paige Pierce being a dominant force. And now I know this last year, she only won, 2 majors and didn't win many Elite Series events, only a couple, 2 or 3.
2, I think.
Two, something like that. We're still in the Paige Pierce era, like it or not. I know a lot of people want to immediately look at Kristin Tattar, who had a phenomenal season, and say, well, it was a nice run, Paige.
Yeah, but it's over.
But it's not even close. Not even close to over for Paige Pierce. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Paige Pierce won 5 elite events, Tattar won 2, and then we had some other people win a few more. That wouldn't shock me at all
Sure.
this year.
Yeah.
Because we know that if her head is in the right space and she's driven, she can do it. She has all the skills of any player needed in that division. So I know, I think you were kind of heading this way. I know there's a lot of people out there that just want to kind of hand Tattar the victories already again this year, but
Well,
or call her, or call this or call last year the greatest year of all time. Not even close.
check your history books,
Yeah,
folks.
check your history books. And again, Tattar had a phenomenal record-breaking year.
Yes, and
I wouldn't
and
call it
there's
the greatest year of all
clearly, in no way, shape, or form, especially with my history within the sport, am I in any way diminishing Kristin Tattar, because I'm the first one to be right there as a cheerleader for her as well and say that she is incredible and amazing, and we're going to continue to see her play so very well for many years to come. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying there's this obvious recency bias, and some people just don't have the history or the background or the knowledge, and that's all fine.
We're a very young sport now, suddenly, as of the last 2 years. It used to be kind of we always called it an old boys club up until 3-4 years ago, when suddenly now it almost feels like it's a young man's club, and that a lot of people don't know the history.
Yeah, so the history obviously matters. Those stats are to me are almost alarming, and in seeing just how far ahead she's been, and as you said, this 13, 14, 15 year professional career, she had a year where she didn't dominate. And there's been a couple other years. Of course, Katrina Allen has won PDGA Player of the Year, 6 times?
Yeah.
I think now. So Katrina Allen, obviously right there in the conversation. She still, though, has 38 of those wins to Paige's 71. So just shy of half of what Paige has accumulated. So my point is, Kristin Tattar is an amazing human, and is a world champion, is gonna go on to win a ton more of events. There's no doubt about it. But you are out of your mind if you're throwing around a phrase just out of just sheer numbers of saying greatest of all time right now and today. It's just, and I get it. That's maybe all you know. You've seen her play against Paige and Evelina and Henna over the last 2 or 3 years of COVID, and maybe you just came along and you're relatively new. And I of course I can understand some of that, but let's put a little context on this and just say it's hard to now if Kristin has 10 or 12 more years of what she did last year, of course, we're going to have a different conversation. But that's going to be pretty tough to do.
It's going to be very tough to do at her age and with the young, big throwing women that are coming into the sport.
Correct.
You know, Holland Handley, Macy Valdez Walker. God.
The Mundahano sisters.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, just
you know, Haley King. You've just got so many young
additional superstars ready to move in
that are coming in, because it didn't feel like that back in our day. It felt like it was almost you had one dominant woman and you had a couple that were competing. You know, we saw on that list Carrie Berlager, who toured and played well and won Elite Series or national tours at the time. It's just now, with the depth of the fields, I don't know if we're going to be able to see. I don't know if we're ever going to see anyone be able to touch some of the records that Paige Pierce has, just because of the depth of the field. It's kind of like the whole Paul and Climo argument. Like, sorry, Paul, I don't think he'll ever get to 12 world championships.
Yeah.
But whereas if Climo, has 12 world championships, now you want to talk majors, obviously they're right there. They're both fighting for that one. Paige and Paul are both fighting for that one more major to see who can tie Kenny. We're in a good space right now, and it's possible, and I'm not going to put it out of possibilities, that we will start to see the decline of Paige Pierce. It wouldn't shock me. I guess it would shock me, actually. I take that back. It would shock me, because she's still pretty young. She's 32?
Yeah, in that neighborhood.
Right around 32. She has easily 5, 7, 8 more years of competitiveness in her, and maybe longer if she takes the Johnny McRae route.
Yeah, or the JK route.
Or the JK route, who's 52 and still competing, for top 10s in our Elite Series. But also, we've also seen Paige's interests wane and change to different things. So if I look, I could look back at this in 5 years and go like, man, that was the end of the Paige Pierce era. I don't think that's going to be true. I don't think I'm going to be saying that, but anything is possible. I'm sure the year after Juliana's last world championship, no one was thinking, oh, she's done.
Yeah.
And then it goes away. It's gone sometimes. And again, we're in a different spot. We're in a different sport. Each of those women that we've talked about kind of, JK walked away from the sport.
Yeah.
She had some issues with putting, as we've seen still, and it took her a long time to come back. Des, injuries. She had her hip injury. She's had multiple other things. Val, just a different interest now. She's running the brewery. And maybe that says something to where our sport is at right now, in that with the money that is in it for FPO Field, we'll see these women's interests not wane as much, because Juliana is a programmer. I don't know if she's still doing it anymore, but and Des had the foundation that she was running, the Edge Foundation that she was working with at the time. And Val, obviously, with the brewery. I don't know if the women these days are going to have those external dreams or external distractions.
Yeah, when this is so much more viable.
This is so much more viable, because back then you had to.
Yeah.
Juliana had to be a programmer to make ends meet.
During the weekdays.
Paige Pierce, she's just going to Thailand for, to play and have fun and hang out. And, it's a different world we live in now. So, and we're very lucky to be able to see the history and the future in the spot we're at right now.
Yeah, I guess I could summarize my entire thoughts and comments by saying,
slow your roll.
Simmer down, slow your roll. One incredible season does not make you a GOAT, I guess, is how I could summarize it. And I just will reiterate for the 20th time, that's of no discredit to what Kristen and her season did. And I'm not saying she couldn't go on to become it someday, but you're all too, how's the line go? Tell me you're new here without telling me you're new here. You tell me that she's the GOAT after one insanely awesome season. That tells me you got to check your history book. Flip back a few pages. Pages, get it? Flip back. I don't know. Anyway, check the notes.
Really?
I don't know. I didn't try
with
that
the
one,
pages
but
pun?
I didn't try that initially, but yeah, just my point is check your notes because Statmando puts it out there, and I did like that Ella Hansen specifically did like when I had said, could you please tweet it louder for anyone in the back throwing around the GOAT phrase all willy-nilly every other day. No shade thrown anywhere, but stats and numbers and such matter. And
I would have gone billy-nilly, but that's just me. I mean,
Why?
if you're talking goats.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, that'd have been next level, Terry. But you're still on this level. You'll get to next.
I'm
level.
bad.
You're a bad tweeter.
Bad tweeter. Anyway, all right. We beat that one to death. But just a little thought from the Twitters this weekend. Aaron's out there saying Maria Oliva is gonna. Aaron says on the board though, I have a feeling Kristen is going to surprise us all, and I'm curious if you want to elaborate. What do you mean by what would be a surprise at this point?
I mean,
if you're saying that in a negative way, like is she going to come back and take 7th at every event? Because that would be surprising.
That would be surprising. Yeah, it's hard after last year's season. It would be hard to surprise us, short of winning every event. That would be
and
a
that
surprise.
Wouldn't even be a surprise. That's surprising.
I mean, it would be a little.
It
bit
seems
surprising,
in the realm of possibility at least
but
now. Though.
Correct. I mean, I don't know what she can do to surprise you. That's like saying Gannon Burr's going to come out and surprise everyone this year. Like, no, sorry, no more surprise.
We already uncovered that one.
We know where you are. She is I mean, as Aaron says, I think she's a real serious athlete. I do think that. I think that we're seeing some of the FPO field truly focus on. And this is not just FPO, actually. It's our entire sport. Some of the best players in our sport never thought about fitness. You know? I don't believe Nate Doss was ever hitting weight rooms during the tour. Or even off-season for the most part. I don't think Kenny Climo was hitting the weight room. He was a roofer.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was busy.
He's busy shingling roofs, and that's what kept him in shape. I mean, we haven't seen a ton of people that were focused on fitness for the sport. Now they might have been some, in the gym for other reasons, but it wasn't necessarily disc golf. We're seeing that now. I mean, we're seeing people that are really focused, and in the FPO field, Ella has been posting videos of her working out. Holland Hanley, we know, works out. Kristen Tatar, I was watching her workout. That sounds really creepy. On Instagram, she posted her doing squats with. Yeah. It's amazing that our sport is coming to this, and it's fun to see. Ezra, as we know, is a gym rat. Brody, same thing.
I think Ezra works out a little bit.
It's natural. He's naturally just yanked.
Godlike.
Just yes. It's
I got the wrong jeans then. That's
did,
natural.
You did. You should sneak into his Van and steal his jeans because they won't fit you.
I already did.
That's creepy, and they won't fit you. But
all right. So
it's really cool. I mean, Paul, obviously he's been kind of focused on fitness now for a while. He was one of the early ones back then, kind of doing, really thinking about the longevity of his career and what he can do to make himself a better disc golfer. Just didn't have to do it before, man. It's a different sport. I'm done here. I'm old. Get off my lawn, kids.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'll totally sidetrack this or tangent this to nothing related at all, in that I think I've completed everything that's available for the Afterlife series on Netflix. I know I've talked about it. It takes me forever to get through series because, as I always say, I only do it when I fly, and then even then I don't always make it a priority. But I did get through. If there's 3 seasons, then I'm through them all, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't recommend that enough. To know that Ricky Gervais is, and I know it's nothing new for him, but to know that he's essentially every bit of that show in terms of acting, writing it, directing it, producing it, whatever he does. I think he does every single thing. He might work a camera too, probably.
Plays all the parts.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think it's such a great series that I found on Netflix.
We've been watching a little bit. And again, my wife is watching it. I catch it at this point, but it's okay. It's called Speechless. It's an ABC series, so it's like the seasons are 26 episodes because it's on network TV, which is why and there's not a huge common thread, but basically it's about a family, and I think this ran a couple years ago, so which is why it's all on Hulu now, who has 3 kids. It's very much a Malcolm in the Middle, or I'm trying to think of a more modern, maybe a Modern Family kind of style sitcom. One of the kids has CP, and so he's in a wheelchair and he's nonverbal, but he can communicate with his computer, and he's completely he's active and he's a good student and this and that. But it's really funny in some aspects how the school is almost like, all the kids in the school are almost overly accepting of him to the point where it annoys him sometimes. Like he literally rolls into the school dance, and they're all like, JJ, and like they surround him, and he's just like, ugh, and the siblings and how they deal with it. But of all the things, and again, I think I've probably watched, my wife's in the middle of season 2. I've probably watched 8 episodes total. The mom, Minnie Driver.
What?
Yeah, nails the part. I think she's my favorite part of the entire series. I wouldn't say it's a must watch, considering again, it's a network show with kind of your typical whatever kind of humor in it. But it's a fun watch. It's good. My wife has a tendency to lean towards anything regarding disabilities and this and that, and she's enjoying it. Some of it's cheesy. The dad in the series is played by the guy from Big Bang Theory who had the really serious lisp. So if you know Big Bang Theory, you'll know exactly who it is. Stu was his name, Stewart, something like that. But anyway, it's a fun series. There's nothing mind breaking about it. You're not getting anything amazing. They've got some good guest stars now and again. I think John Cleese just showed up the other day as a guest part. So if you want a brainless kind of fun thing talking about kids with special needs and stuff, by all means, it's good. There was one episode where the boy, the middle child, who's a nerd, gets to actually kind of date this cute girl, and she takes him under the bleachers, and then she's like, oh man, I can't believe I forgot something. I'm a total, and she drops the R word, and he's like, oh man, because his brother is in a wheelchair, and he's like, now he has to make the determination of, does he still want to make out with her, even though she, she's completely like says the wrong thing. And again, ABC sitcom.
Huh. So. All right. Speaking of other things to watch, somebody asked, and then somebody appropriately replied and asked if we watch anime. You and I.
No, I have not really watched any anime.
Like any ever? Really?
I mean, I've caught, I think, just like a little bit, but nothing serious. I no.
I like how Ray says, I can guarantee that Terry has watched 0 anime. Johnny probably has seen some DBZ and
Dragon Ball Z. No.
And possibly a few more classics.
No, actually, I've never really got into anime. I'm sure there's good stuff out there, but it just has never.
Okay, so the fact that you don't is, I don't want to say is a little surprising, but to some it might be.
Yeah, it would be
probably a little bit surprising.
It would be right up my alley.
Ray, you've absolutely nailed it. I have watched less than 60 seconds, I think, of anime in my life. Here would be my challenge or my rebuttal to that, though. I would like somebody to send me the single best episode
or movie.
That'd
be like,
oh God,
probably something like Akira.
The single best, clearly it won't be universally regarded as such, or maybe it would. I doubt it, because there's so many different opinions and it's subjective. But send me what many would consider the single best anime episode or movie or something for me to look at. Like if you were going to try and sell me on it, send me to the single best episode or display or example of anime, and I think I should try it. Should really get outside my comfort zone. I should try it. I'm not gonna lie, I have pretty low expectations. I'm gonna guess I won't like it, but I would be willing to at least take a look.
So people are mentioning a couple things. Voltron, I watched as a kid, if that counts as anime. I did watch, and I know it is anime technically, oh God, what was it as a kid where they all got into the giant mech machines? I know that barely narrows it down for anime people. Macross. I think it was called Macross over in Japan. I forget what they called it here. I watched that as a kid. Robotech. I watched Robotech. Yes, as a kid I watched that. And someone's saying Avatar: The Last Airbender is American anime. I mean,
that probably gives me a better chance of liking it.
It maybe is technically American anime. I love Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon series, as well as Korra. Both of them are phenomenal. I'm looking forward to whatever else they do in the future. But might watch it with my kid. I think it's probably the best animated series that is out there. You still wouldn't like it, Terry?
I was just
In general, I don't see you watching a cartoon ever. So maybe Rick and Morty a little bit, but even that, you're just not. It just doesn't. Yeah, it's not you. So I guess those kind of, but to me, the typical Japanese anime is not. It's never been my thing. Again, I never watched Dragon Ball Z or Gundam or, I did watch one episode, I think, of Attack on Titan. And again, I turned, I think it was whatever episode, and I was like, all right, maybe if I watched it from the very beginning. I think I watched the Castlevania series on Netflix. I guess technically that's anime. I watched it though because it was a Nintendo franchise. So I guess technically that's considered anime. But yeah, I wouldn't consider myself an anime viewer in general. Nova says, I totally see JVD as a Macross fan. Makes perfect sense. Funny thing, Nova, that I watched it when it was called Robotech. And my understanding now after the fact was what we got here in America was like chopped up versions of Macross. And so at one point, way back early internet, I started to try to find the actual Macross. And I ran into a guy at work when I worked at GE Healthcare, I think, that had like the DVDs of it. And he lent them to me. And I don't think I ever ended up watching them because he had them in the original in the right order or whatever the problem was. It just at that point seemed like too much of an undertaking. I was like, oh gosh, now am I gonna be this guy? And I couldn't bring myself to do it. I just couldn't.
Interesting. Well, maybe I will give it a chance. I mean, I do have some long flights coming up, to Thailand and back, and some long international flights with lots of different things on as options, probably in some in-flight entertainment. So maybe I will give it a chance. Again, I have pretty low expectations for the chance that I'll enjoy.
You're not going to enjoy it, Terry. I'll tell you right now.
The real question is, how long before I just have to turn it off?
Oh, I give you 9 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you think I can make it 10 minutes?
Give you 9 minutes, and then I think you could go longer if you force yourself, but in a natural environment,
okay,
you'd sit
enough.
down and you'd be like, this is just not for me.
Okay, well, I guess we will see. Let's get to the real questions that Logan asked. Terry, do you sell boxes in packs of 50 or 100 only? Yes, essentially yes. They are considered oversized when shipping them, so it's insanely expensive to ship 100 boxes. Insanely, that's maybe an overstatement. It's expensive to ship 100 boxes. They only weigh about 10 pounds, or 20 pounds, sorry. But if I ship 100 of them to you, or if I ship 50 of them to you, it essentially almost costs me the same because of the dimensional weight shipping. And so if I shipped 5 to you, it would cost just as much as if I shipped 50 to you, which would be an insane amount. So short answer is right now, 50 or 100 packs. If you happen to see me at an event, or I'm coming to an event that I'm driving to, I'm more than happy to bring some along and hand some off and give everybody a little bit of a discount in that way, or at an event or whatever. But yes, 50 or 100 packs. You've got some buddies. Let's hope that if 100 is way too many for you, maybe you could split that with your other disc selling buddy across the city, and then you guys go that route. Little update. My marketing and inventory managers, the Shicks, have redone my website. And so it is now.
Did they move it to GeoCities?
Yes, it is. It operates much better. You can choose also your own MySpace song while you're there.
Oh, you should put songs on while people log on.
There's a lot of blinking text, so that's great.
So tell me it has an under construction animated GIF.
Yeah, of the
a guy
construction
digging.
guy digging on the front that just says under construction, as all websites did at one point.
Are you part of a ring, a disc golf ring?
Yeah, yep. So it just has a different look and feel to it. You and I had a conversation. It'll probably get ultimately a different theme laid over the top of it, but it definitely has the basics. But more importantly, maybe it's on it's overlaid on top of Shopify, or it's a Shopify based account.
That's a good
which
idea.
Many people, of course, are very trusting of, and has become very much an industry standard. So it's on Shopify, and of course that's shop.thediscgolfguy.com. Some people were trying it out this weekend, and I appreciate each and every one of you that did. I've got the Lizotte disc out there as a we have a very limited pre-sale. You heard my speech about pre-sales last week, how I get nervous about them. So I don't want to overpromise. If I'm going to disappoint people, I want to keep it to a minimum. So we do have that out there along with some other discs. Of course, Double G Jerky, my disc in a box, all those other things. And then if you're looking for a custom like Disc Golf Guy stamped disc, we have a bunch of those out there. And coming to the site soon, we may have some Smashbox stamped discs as well.
What?
So those might make an appearance there soon.
That would be a good idea.
So that's all out there, and I appreciate all of you guys. Tons of you, not tons, a handful of you went out there and did some shopping this weekend, which definitely helps support the coverage that I'm doing. So appreciate you all. All right. Terry, where are you selling discs? Oh, I didn't even see that, but they're on the website. There's a good amount of them there. Spoiler, the like super goodies are may never see a website or the light of day again. But there's a ton of good stuff out there. I'm just saying, like, you know, your first run Star Destroyers aren't listed on there. My 2015 Nate Sexton Firebirds aren't listed for sale on there.
Why not?
All for good reason.
You should put them up there.
Because I don't want to sell them.
You should put them up there for insane amounts of money.
And just see if somebody bites on it.
Yeah, sure. Like a 2015 Sexton Firebird, $8,000. See who bites.
I mean,
that might be the only chance that some people have in getting them.
That's true.
I mean, listen.
Supply and demand, right?
That's what I'm saying, Terry.
But I saw it there. It said $8,000, so I took it. So, yes, all that. So there's a ton of good stuff out there. But like I said, if you're looking for all like my collectibles and crazy discs, those aren't listed on the site. And like
someday, and I keep telling you we need to do this. We're going to do an in the box with Terry Miller.
Oh yeah,
where we just drag out a box and you go through it. But on top of that, we should take photos of everything that you have in general.
Yeah, that would be a good idea
for insurance purposes, but also for just to tease people with. That's always fun. Terry, you getting any Lone Star on that?
Yes, I don't have any there yet, but there absolutely will be. So I just got to get up to speed with that.
How about some of the BL putters that we just?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a no-brainer that also some of those are going to be consumed as well or picked up. Where is the legacy love? There, I have some. They're in the bins. I don't know if they're photoed and on the site or not, but I definitely have quite a few stacks of them, all on in person as well. That's where people can also get stuff. And I do want to quickly shout out. This is a little bit. Well, this definitely relates to post production, but also in general. I have been talking to a gentleman that runs his own. Well, him and another business partner. They run the Distinguished Doodle. And they have products, of course, for your dog, or I think humans too. But they do offer up shampoos, conditioners, and all sorts of things. They have groomer packages. He's a disc golfer and wants to get more involved with disc golf, clearly meshing together his background, his history, his love for pet and skincare products, and then also now becoming a disc golfer, and had reached out and said, hey, I want the world to know about this. So if you're interested in learning more, or you just go to the site, tell him the disc golf guy sent you. I don't have a code or anything like that right now, but he stepped up. He's out of Arizona and said that he wants to get involved with supporting the efforts that I'm doing. So SmashBoxx here is part of that effort, along with the Disc Golf Guy channel. So just wanted to make sure that you guys know about it. thedistinguisheddoodle.com. You can check out stuff. They have all sorts of information out there about the various pet products. He says, I want to just read from the site when it says they have probiotics, and they said when probiotics serve to strengthen barrier integrity and increase skin's defense mechanism, support good bacteria while reducing bad bacteria and pollutants.
That probiotics just made you poop.
No, see, that's why you need to read the FAQs here. Help
sure
balance the skin's pH and reduce inflammation, increase and preserve hydration, so on and so forth. So anyway, he's got a long-standing history within professional skincare products, and then has brought that over to your dog and pet care products. So throwing it out there. I guess the shortest way to say that is, if you're going to support anyone, you might as well support a disc golfer in their endeavors. And he's supporting disc golf, so we appreciate it. Johnny's going to pull up the list of patron supporters. We appreciate it very much, as I'm going to answer any other questions here from the board. Send a link in the chat. I just did that, Ray, if you were talking about the Distinguished Doodle. Again, please, or don't. I was going to say let them know you're a disc golfer, but you don't even have to do that. I just want to see. I wouldn't know where I'd go get dog shampoo, and so I feel like if you're going to buy some anyway, you might as well buy some from a disc golfer.
In general, I think I would just go to a store, but I'm sure they don't have nearly, as good of a product as what this guy has. So
yeah,
if I cared about my dog, I'd probably get something good. Now, if I didn't care about my animal, I'd probably just go some random pet store where you never know what you're going to get. You don't know what they're putting in those bottles.
No.
I don't trust them. I trust this disc golfer guy, though. He's a disc golfer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Let's see what else is out there. John says, I just went to your site, started the purchase process, and then finished click. States out of stock. I guess someone virtually ripped it out of my hands when I was trying to purchase it. I'm not sure what it was. Yeah. It's going to be crazy if I get to a spot where
people are going to complain that like they have things, pre-release.
Yeah, and how that works within Shopify's system. I'm guessing it doesn't necessarily hold.
But I hear people say, I had it and I was sitting around looking at other things and it got ripped.
And then all of a sudden it was gone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a world I don't want.
Get in and get out. Check it.
Direct it. Let's begin.
I got pooches like Double G Jerky. I can trust the source. I like it. A red Simon Hex. Yes, as I said, there's a very limited amount. I ordered a ton of them, but I hate the idea of disappointing people, so I wanted to make sure that we only put up a fraction of them on the site. If things go well, once we get the order in, we'll likely then see more added to the site. But I did not want to... Whatever I ordered, I didn't want that to match what was available for sale. I wanted to have a little extra protection there. Another John says nothing is on hold on Shopify, so that's good to know. I believe that to be the case. I feel like that's pretty rare that
a shopping cart,
unless they have like an actual countdown that says, hey, this is here for X amount of time. And even those I don't think are always necessarily consistent. And quite frankly, I didn't expect to ever get to a point where I think there's so many people trying to purchase any one given item that there's a mad rush for it, but either way.
I'm hoping, Terry. Oh, you're not going to be here next week, are you?
I am not. I'm going to be in Thailand. Oh, here's a good question.
Okay.
That I'll throw out to the board. Just for the sake of experience, I am contemplating.
Oh, boy.
In Bangkok.
Oh, boy.
Do I get a haircut there?
Oh.
I need a haircut. I want a haircut. Do I get it in the next few days here? Standard place. Probably Sport Clips where I typically go. They know me there. And they offer discounts. And return punches on my card because I'm cheap. I'm a baller on a budget, folks. Budget haircuts for this guy.
Baller on a budget at Great Clips.
No, Sport Clips. There's a big difference.
Sorry.
Big difference. I don't F with that Great Clips place anymore. I'm no Sports Clips fan. Now, or do I go to Bangkok or Koh Samui or wherever in Thailand, and do I go for the experience of having a haircut there?
Why not? I mean,
a language barrier would be the starters.
I don't know what experience you are looking to have.
I mean, I've got a good excuse, right? If the haircut's terrible, I can be like, well, I got it in Bangkok.
Yeah. And you're not going to be back for like a month, so.
And part of the reason, I'll admit, part of what is driving this idea is there's a gentleman,
Sure.
I think he runs a YouTube or he puts it on Facebook. He speaks, he's like this incredible, I think he speaks Mandarin, Cantonese. He speaks like all these crazy languages. Just amazing. He speaks them so well. And then part of his channel is him going to places and then kind of just subtly admitting or revealing that he speaks. So he'll go, went in and got his nails done somewhere, or he'll go into Chinatown or wherever, and then all of a sudden he'll just bust out his Mandarin, and then he gets all the reactions. It's hilarious. I absolutely love watching his videos. And he went and got a haircut. And he, of course, could interact with the gentleman and they all, first of all, most of these videos, maybe he's cherry picking them, I doubt it. Most of these videos, the people that he's speaking with will say to him, hey, you speak better Mandarin than we do. Like it's just impeccable. He lived in, he's lived in a couple different countries. I forget everywhere he's lived, but anyways, it's just impressive. Him and his buddies do this. So I guess my question is, when he went and got that haircut, it made me think like, would that be an experience or not? So that's the question. Somebody says, how bad could it possibly be? That's true.
I mean, again, here's what I say. I don't believe there's any sort of experience there. Like just having somebody else
other than a good excuse, one way or another. Yeah, it could be the best haircut I've ever gotten.
It could be. I'm not saying it's not. It wouldn't be, but I'm just saying I don't think that's an experience. It's not like.
Well, no, I don't think I'm getting culturally enriched. I'm not claiming that. Do not get me wrong.
Just in general. I mean, if you do it, great. If you don't, I mean, that's.
I guess it just makes for a little bit of a story of like, hey, I got my
now
hair.
if they did like a full like shave and a haircut, then you could say, oh, it's definitely an experience of whatever culture, wherever you're going to be when you do this, of how they do something along those lines. But just a haircut, just a haircut.
And somebody had asked, and this maybe shows that I'm certainly not. Somebody asked if I was a polyglot.
I had to look it up too. It's someone who speaks multiple languages.
No. And so the fact that I had to look it up should tell you everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Both of us had to look it up.
Yeah. So absolutely not. I know about this much ASL, a little bit. I know a little bit of sign language to almost get by. Nothing fluent by any means. And I'm a very slow finger speller when it comes to ASL. So no. Outside of that little tiny smidge of ASL, I know no other languages.
I can speak very little, like 7th and 8th grade French.
Yeah, of about the 6 phrases you remember?
Correct.
Okay, which is about 5 more than I remember.
Which is funny, because when I read it, I'm much better reading it than I would be hearing it, because I do remember some things. But speaking it, no, never. Nah. Nope. Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. As cheap as I am, I didn't even think about the potential savings, cost savings too.
Sure, you could probably save yourself like maybe $6 or something.
I bet you it's more than that.
I know,
and I say because Shasta Chris just posted about like having all this major dental surgery done, like tons of work done. Mm-hmm. And it was like $10.
Yeah.
So that's why I think if there's hopefully it's relative.
I mean your haircut here is going to cost you what, 12, 14?
No, come on. I'm big time at Sports Clips. They like rub my shoulders. It's like 22.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
know.
You go to Sports Clips and pay $22.
I mean, you get.
I go to
I get
salon.
the triple play. I get the triple play.
Oh, jeez. I go to a salon that's near my office, DeCarlo Salon.
And you still pay that much.
I pay $25.
Okay.
But that's like a fancy upscale salon.
There's nothing not fancy about Sports Clips.
It's called Sports Clips, Terry. Like
They wear referee uniforms there. All right.
Like here's how.
And it's like 2 minutes from my house.
Yeah. And again, I
ain't got time for no salon.
I do it on my lunch hour. It's great.
I don't care.
I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, he's cheap. He's going there. He's gonna pay like $12 or $14 hair thing, and they
no, that's
wow.
like. Well, to be fair, you can't get a haircut anywhere for $12 or $14 anymore.
I don't know. I don't usually.
I know, salon boy.
I don't.
I know you gave up on
That's actually
those
not true.
chain places
I
a while ago.
I actually went to a Great Clips a couple of weeks ago because I wanted to get a haircut. I think it was before the holidays, and I couldn't get into the salon that I normally go to near my office because they were booked right before the holidays, and I was like, ugh, I really need one too. So I actually went to a Great Clips here nearby and just was like, okay, just trim it. That's all I want. Just trim it. You can't mess it up if you just trim. And I went from there.
Well, I'm going to get an official source here. Luke Butch, Nigel Mills. I've had a few chats with them here tonight. Of course, they're our gracious Thailand hosts, and I know they're up. And I have just officially asked Luke as to how much should a haircut cost me in Bangkok, either there or on the island of Koh Samui. Now,
I mean, if it's as cheap as everything, I'm thinking like $5, I would think.
Yeah, which is about 1,500 baht.
Sure.
No, 5.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's about 1,500 baht. Right? Am I doing my math right there, somebody?
Ray says, look at these lucky dudes in their 40s flaunting their magnificent manes of hair. I will say, Ray, that I'm very happy and fortunate that I have what I have, as opposed to what I thought I was going to have when I was younger, just due to looking at family and relatives. You know, I think I've told this story before on the podcast. When we were kids, my grandfather, has been bald as long as I could remember. He passed away like 10 years ago, but I mean, he was 90. So anyway, since he was like 50, when I probably knew him, maybe in his late 50s, he was bald. And he told us the scariest story as kids. He was like, yeah, kids, this is all going to happen to you. I was walking down the street one day and it all fell out at once. And as kids, when you're like 6, 7, you just believe him. You're like, oh, jeez. So all I thought is growing up, I was like, all right, I mean, it's not all going to fall out at once, but I'm going to be bald growing up. You know, Grandpa's bald on my mom's side. And, you know, my dad's father had passed away before I was born, so I never knew him. And Dad was balding. My uncles were, and I was like, all right, well, I guess this is what's going to happen.
See, that's
why
you're doing it wrong. You just got to be adopted like me.
And then you don't know your family history.
Exactly.
And that's great.
All right, great news, folks. The Googlays has officially told me cost of a haircut in Thailand. Most haircuts for women and men in Thailand start at 200 baht. Now, this is in early 2019, which is approximately $650.
That was close.
Yeah.
$5.
Very cheap salons can go up to 400 baht, $13. So yeah, 500 baht's about $15, is what I was saying. So yeah, so somewhere between probably $6 and I mean they're saying salons, yeah, $6 and $13. Yeah, I mean, so in theory, men's haircut, 349 baht. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I can save a few bahts and a few bucks.
I mean, you do you, Terry. Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, that's maybe what I should do. I should now seek out the fanciest salon, right? Yeah. And then still have it only come to $30, but it's their top level.
Yeah.
Which would maybe be like 50 or 75 here, but I go big time there.
What's the most you've ever paid for a haircut? Do you know?
Like $22. What I was just saying, yeah.
I paid 50 once.
I ain't got that kind of money.
Neither do I.
Yeah, you do.
I think I've told this before too. There was a salon that opened literally in the same complex as my office, and the day they opened, they were still like moving shit in, and so I went in and was like, "Hey, you're new here?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever." Sit down. I was like, "Hey, I'll get a haircut." Literally, there was nothing on the walls yet. There was no pricing. There was nothing. I was just like, "All right, cool, yeah, haircut." I was thinking, at worst case, what's a $25 haircut or a $30 haircut? No, when I was done, he rang me up and it was $50. And I remember thinking, like, at this point, you can't say, like,
I'm good.
I'm good. Oh,
I'll pass.
Here's 30 instead, you know?
Yeah.
And during the haircut, he was telling me he had cut hair for a lot of the Bucks players. He'd cut hair for, I think, the mayor of Milwaukee at the time, Tom Barrett. He was like, I knew it was a kind of an upscale place, but I didn't expect that kind of upscale. I never went back. He's still there. He's still in our office complex. I never went back, though.
Imagine that.
And I didn't tip either.
So you cheap.
I figured at $50 that was enough.
That's how that works.
I hope he's doing well. I hope he's doing well.
Yeah. Well, it's a done deal. I am officially, and I may even I depends on how much I have for a layover. I was gonna say, would I do it in a? But then I'm not getting to Thailand. Yeah, I'm not getting to Thailand to do it, and that's kind of the
airport haircuts. That would scare me.
I don't know. I mean, so yeah, that's the plan. I'm gonna wait till I'm gonna suffer through all of this
shagginess.
Yeah, I'm gonna suffer through it until probably next Monday or Tuesday. Then
you should do it and then ask for frosted tips.
I'll show him a picture of like Justin Timberlake from like 99 or 2001, whatever. And be like, yeah, me, like, yeah, can we do this?
Yeah. You definitely should.
That's what I'll do.
All right. And in order for Terry to pay for this, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. If for as little as a haircut a month in baht in Thailand, I think, I don't know. You can support SmashBoxxTV. As always, we thank everybody who is a Patreon supporter. Again, for as little as like $1 a month, you can be eligible for one of our giveaways. Terry Miller, we have like 156 people eligible for our giveaway.
I like it.
Yep. What exactly? Oh, I can't find.
I think we should give away a haircut.
You should give away a haircut. I think I need to go.
You got all your numbers that you got all queued up over there.
Yeah, but it's not showing.
I should not be this excited about the idea that I'm gonna go get my haircut.
For some reason, it's not allowing me to show my screen. Oh, maybe if I.
Are you already doing it?
No. I tried to show the screen, but it won't. For some reason, show the screen.
Benjamin says.
Well,
go ahead.
Anyway, just go ahead and tell me what number we want to generate.
Well, this is going to be my third trip to Thailand.
Okay.
So 3.
So 3. All right. So then, sorry guys, you're not going to get to see the random, or you have to trust us this one time because
I wouldn't do that.
My system is not working the way it was. So our first number we generate is 52. Our second number we generate is 87, and the third number 132. I sorted them by email address. 132. So I got to scroll up just a little bit here. That is Lindsay Westberg. Congratulations, Lindsay Westberg.
Heck yeah! Whoop whoop.
There you go, Lindsay, who is our patron. She's on our wall right here. Yeah, she's right there in the middle, right next to Graham.
Oh yeah.
See? In between Pilcher and Graham.
Wow. Nice.
So, thanks a lot, Lindsay. We will we'll get that out to you. I'll have Terry figure something out for you.
You get my
please.
From Thailand. I will sweep up
your hair. That's the creepiest thing that you could do.
But I know her, so
I know you do. She's a wonderful person.
I don't know. I don't think she wants my hair though.
No, nobody does.
But she'll get it.
Nobody does. Like even Locks for Love is like, nah, Terry, we're good. Like there's a little too much red in there for us.
Yeah, probably.
We probably don't want that.
What you guys are gonna want, real quick. I'm gonna get another plug in there because that's what I do. We just run 3-hour shows so we can plug our own stuff. One of the things that I did, yeah, not hair plugs. One of the things that I did, got to roll the dice, take a chance, right? of course, the 3 rounds of coverage, actually 4 rounds of coverage. We had 2 feature cards that came out this weekend on Friday. I was able to get out both of those, which was a tall task, but we got both of the feature cards out. Thank goodness we had 2 feature cards, because the feature card that you might have guessed would have had the hottest round didn't. The other feature card did, though, so we've got it. Those were released, and we had the lead card on Saturday, as in round 2's MPO lead card, and then round 3's MPO lead card. And we rolled the dice on seeing if maybe somebody would try and win it off the chase card. So we made sure that was covered, in addition to getting 3 rounds of FPO action. Well, the chase card, spoiler, they didn't win. But there was some incredible golf, and I decided to switch up the format just ever so slightly. So rather than a normal round plus me doing the solo commentary on it for what would have been my 5th round of the action at Vista, I took out all the drone previews, because now you know Vista after watching 4 rounds of it. I took out the drone previews, which trims that up by a few minutes, and then I didn't do any commentary on it. I just let it play, and it features Kale LaVisca, Drew Gibson, Aaron Gossage, and Andrew Filamahala. So
I've never heard of any of those guys.
great card, and there's some great golf on it. And I just decided to do a quick intro and then let it play naturally, kind of a little bit of a throwback to before commentary was on every single video. And I've just let it play naturally. The front 9 released right before the show, and I'll just hit release on the back 9 in the morning. So tell me if you like it or not. I thought it was just kind of a different way to go about it.
You're going to do commentary?
No, I'm not. I'm not planning on it.
I didn't know if you were going to do a second version.
No, I'm not planning on it at this point. I was like, let's just let it play. I mean, people get to see the golf, and they now know the course pretty well, and they know these players pretty well. So yeah, let's just let it play out. So it's released. If you like it, great. I almost hope you don't like it too much, because that means you don't want my commentary. But no, it's golf. It's great golf, and I just wanted to throw it out there. And so for any of you that have feedback on it, I'd be interested. Some may say, hey, I don't like watching golf without any insights.
I do see that, because I think Gatekeeper also does something like that, where they post a commentary version and a natural version. And there are people that are like, yeah, you need commentary on this. I can't watch this, or something like that. And
interesting.
And someone's like, yeah, there's another version. Go watch that one, because there are people that do love it.
Sure,
but there are the small few that are like, yeah, I can't watch this without commentary, and I get it. Like,
yeah, and if it was the final card, lead card, and the winner was there, it would be a different story. But it's truly, by definition, in my opinion, I mean, there was at one point where I thought about, like, why even put it together, but
you should just intro it like that. Like, listen, these guys sucked. I expected them to be better, so I don't even want to watch this.
My intro's not that far off of that. No,
I don't want to watch this again. So it's going to be commentary free.
Yeah,
enjoy the natural
sights and sounds.
Yeah, it was at Vista. Did you get any interference on the back 9?
I did.
Okay, so we know.
We also know, though, I think it can be fixed with the right equipment, because another gentleman brought a different cord and/or microphone, and his camera did not grab the interference. So my 2 cameras did grab the interference.
Shielded cable or something.
There's definitely something that is legitimately interfering with it.
Yeah, back on hole 11,
7, 9, 10, and 11.
Yes,
all of those.
There is something in the area of Vista that causes some sort of electrical interference, like a hum or a buzz, and Terry has noticed it for years. And I always jokingly think about it after the fact, but maybe you can prep for it for Memorial. Either get different microphones or some sort of shielded cable. Maybe that will help with whatever interference you're getting. It just hit me, and of course, I don't think anyone here on the podcast really cares about that. So we're gonna wrap this up, Terry Miller.
I got more. I didn't talk enough this weekend.
Oh God.
It's been great. Thank you, guys. Thanks for all the love and the support this weekend. Also, congrats to our champions, as we mentioned earlier, Jennifer Allen, along with Andrew Marwede, Pete Ulibarri, and anyone else that was there as part of the event. It was awesome, yet again, being in Arizona to do our thing. We're looking forward to being back for a really big production come the Memorial. That's in part, again, thanks to our friends at First Light as well for making that happen. Krissie Fountain, keep kicking ass. There's no better way to put it. You and your staff and your crew and your team, we're excited to hear. We'll be looking for some updates as the year goes on. I know you're going to have a very busy year, but we'll be looking for those updates on what you're doing with that entire women's only circuit and tour down there in Texas. Nothing but love and support for you. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy. This has been SmashBoxxTV's podcast 439's After Show. You may or may not see me next week, but if you do, it's going to be with my fresh haircut. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.